The greatest truth that man must realize is that we are all gods, orchestrating our own cosmic play upon the grand stage of existence. Our consciousness does not simply observe this world, but literally sustains and creates it moment by moment. We are the poets crafting the epics of our lives. To reprogram your mind and shift your energies towards success is not to undertake some arduous lifelong journey. It is simply to awaken to your true nature as the authors of your respective universes. When you shed the blinders of doubt and limitation, you will see that the attainment of your fondest dreams is not some improbable aspiration, but your natural state of being. You need only conceive of the desire you wish to unleash into this world, and through the deliverable magic of your imagination, you make it so. The world around you, in all its immensity and sensory tangibility, is simply solidified consciousness. It conforms to the contents of your marvelous mind, which possesses the awesome power of reshaping form itself. Let me repeat that again, for it is a truth so profound, so revolutionary in its implications, you must let its enormity fully penetrate your consciousness. You are the operant power animating not only your circumstances, but every facet of your experienced reality. You are the cosmic dreamer conjuring universes into existence. To know this as an intellectual concept is one thing, but to ingrain and add its truth into the very fabric of your being is to unlock your divine thermonuclear power. It is not through soulless techniques or mental trickeries, but by a perfect absorption into the certainty of being that you reprogram your mindset toward boundless achievement. Imagine what fires could be stoked within you if you realize that every finite impression you perceive is but a shadow resonance of infinite capacities stirring within your immortal being. That the creations you behold, splendid as they are but a dim foreshadowing of the kaleidoscopic wonders brewing in your subconscious depths, yearning to burst forth into objective manifestation. The pyramids, the symphonies, the cathedrals and empires of this world that so eminently impress the senses, these are but faint mirrorings of your spiritual inferno, dream realms that will one day pulse into palpable substance. For within you dwell worlds upon worlds, galaxies waiting to be born from your imagination's matrixal womb. Success, my friends, however you personally define it, is not something you pursue and capture like a fleeting animal in the wilderness. It is your natural state of being once you become keenly aware of the infinite bundles of power and potential throbbing within your very soul. The great sages and avatars throughout the ages realized that desires automatically achieve consummate expression simply by their being conceived and firmly occupying one's consciousness. Jesus was able to resurrect and transfigure his flesh because he operated with a spiritual continuity, that he was the Son of God, that he was one with the creative principle animating all existence. Those who mastered and activated the power of their subconscious faculties became outright alchemists, able to reshape molecules and attenuate matter into new forms and realities. The beauty you witness blossoming across the vast spectacle of creation is but an adumbration of what you can continually generate by lapsing into the infinite reverie that you truly are. Whatever your heart yearns for, whether it be wealth, perfect health, harmonious relationships, creative masterpieces, or to elevate this earth into a utopian paradise, it is all readily achievable once you accept the reality of being the cosmic dreamer vivifying the universe from your spiritual furnaces. You need not anxiously struggle, scheme, or exhaust yourself in pursuit of success, for it blossoms effortlessly from the womb of your consciousness. It is simply a new perception, a sublimely enlightened rearranging of your thoughts and ultimate self-action that brings into view the spiritual realities always connected with your being. Cares, struggles, conflicts, and travails abound only for those who buy into the duality of being separate from the creative principle. For them, every desire is an uphill battle against opposing forces and stubborn circumstances that appear indifferent to their longings. But for you who recognize that all force springs from your consciousness, success becomes as natural and inevitable as your breath itself. When you dissolve the illusions surrounding you, and they are illusions, friends, for this world is nothing more than a passing panorama of images molded from the infinite plasticity of your imagination, then you live continually in the spiritual ethers of perpetual achievement. You dwell in the cosmic dream wherein you are the eternally victorious protagonist. Ask yourself what you truly desire, not the frivolous, ephemeral cravings fueled by egoistic passions and fleeting delirium, but your true, godly longing searing from the very core of your being, that insatiable fire burning from your spiritual source, your essence, desiring full expression. Once you become vividly awakened to that core desire, that yearning you feel in the quietude of soul, you need only give it your rapturous, unhesitant attention, and that divine passion begins to remake and remold your reality in its own likeness. When you really want something with the totality of your being, so that every fiber, every neutron is supercharged with that intention, the whole universe bends and acquiesces to your will. Difficulties and oppositions will only appear to those living in a finite, dualistic realm that sees struggle as necessary for attainment. But you, who comprehend that all is your perception, all is molded consciousness, understand that simply by riveting your desires in the boundless ethers of your conscious temple, you summon it into objectivity without any resistance whatsoever. My friends, you are so much more than you currently recognize. You have settled for a pale rendition of the blazing infinities churning within your immortal being. You are the very weaver of the cosmic loom, the eternal artist birthing realities with your perpetual dreaming. The successes you presently applaud as extraordinary are but timid preludings of the super spectacles and dimensions waiting to erupt from your resplendent subconscious territories. They are washings of the same waves that ceaselessly thunder and swirl through your infinite depths. Do you ever ponder why certain individuals, against all conventional odds and circumstances, achieve staggering success and operate on a scale that boggles the finite mind? It is because they are tapped into the spiritual continuum of their divine imagination. They are in resonance with the celestial keynote sounding from their eternal being. Every true genius, avatar, and master creator is one who merely discovers how to get themselves out of the way and become a clear window for the infinite source currents to pour through their human vessel. They become empty conduits for the spiritual tsunamis waiting to uncurl from the subconscious ocean deeps within them. Such self-surrender and hollow entrancement into the depths of their being allows creators unbridled access into the prodigious wellsprings from which dreams, visions, inventions, and new realities are birthed into manifestation. What you call desires, longings, and aspirations are but coded spiritual instructions from the infinite dream currents flowing through you, signaling that new dimensions are eagerly aching to press forth into materialized objectivity. Each pure passion that sears through you is the blaze announcing that untrodden universes are anxiously awaiting to incarnate from your imagination's radiant furnaces. Your true self is formless light, an infinite labyrinth of creative and universal quintessence shaped into a resplendent being for the precise purpose of exploring, manifesting, and giving full expression to the boundless treasures encoded within your subconscious wonders. Countless civilizations, masterworks, and entire galaxies have been in fetal form, dormant within the limitless potencies you now call your human self. But you are far vaster, far more prodigious than the scant entities you presently ascribe to the limited personas you temporarily inhabit. You are inexhaustibly creating because you are creation itself. Your inherent nature is constant imaginative exuberance, an eternal dreaming of newer, grander, multidimensional experiences. To cease projecting forth fresh realities through your concentrated imaginations would be to extinguish the core of your ontological existence. I tell you, friends, the world that so solidly appears around you is merely a shadow realm, a brief cosmic day residue formed from the subconscious night reality simmering within you. What you presently behold with your senses is simply the ephemeral atmosphere sandwiched between the dream-swept eternities of your being. Your imagination is the umbilical cord that forever binds you to the fecund womb of the infinite. Through its brilliant paradox of manifesting forms while remaining formless, it draws ever new and wilder expressions of immanence up from the celestial abyss. You are not truly born until you realize your innate power of resurrection, of perpetually being conceived anew through the wondrous dreamings of your boundless imagination. To be twice born is not a poetic metaphor, but the literal shedding of your causal, limited identity, and surrendered embodiment of your immortal, created infinite use. Those who walk this earth as so-called enlightened masters are merely those who have merged their sense of personhood into the perpetual dream state of the pleasure. They have liberated themselves from restricting identities into the blissful continuity of imagination as their core consciousness and mode of operation. Through their realization that unbroken dreaming is their inherent state, they have become boundless radiances, infinite sources of creativity, abundance, and inspiration, eternally remolding their environments into kaleidoscopic raptures of materialized ideation. The instant you feel yourself firmly rooted in the adamantine truth that you are a cosmic, creator-dreaming universes into fruition, the yoke of limitation, anxiety, and every earthly care are dissolved from upon your being. You will have already entered into the imperishable paradise worlds, where every aspiration is satisfied by a mere whim of your imagination. My words may strike chords of incredulity or skepticism within you, but I urge you to consider this deeply. If you buy into the universal dream that you are separate from the creative source of existence, then you are forever doomed to live out that mental construct of souls anguished by unrealized desires and perpetual yearning. But if you fully embrace that you yourself are the wellspring of perpetual creation, the God-mind Jose imagination is what has conjured this present realm into tangibility, then the shackles of deficiency, want, and struggle instantly vanish from your being. You begin dwelling in the conscious paradise of your subconscious depths, where you are free to perpetually manifest your dreams into objectification. I urge you to have no hesitation, to slough off trepidation and the fear of appearing deluded, and take an audacious plunge into the depths of your infinite being. I implore you to fully surrender to the certainty that the consciousness animating your perceived existence is the same prodigious power that materializes all worlds. Persist in this assumption, this solemn attunement and merging with the inexhaustible deeps of your imagination, and you will find yourself gradually awakening to unprecedented degrees of creative power. Lucrative opportunities, unimaginable experiences, and realities of abundance and fulfillment will spontaneously burst forth into your existence. The gates separating you from the highest heavens of manifestation will disintegrate, for you will be perpetually rooted in the ever-spiraling dream cycle that continually regenerates creation into newer states of beauty and magnificence. Whatever the goal or vision that ignites your soul passions, cling to it tenaciously. Nurture and amplify its presence within your consciousness until it overshadows all else and consumes your entire reality with its spiritual charge. Then simply remain faithful, poised, and continually immersed in its all-pervading atmosphere. Before long, you will witness the laws of spiritual gestation mirroring your pregnant ideations into materialized expression. Your thoughts hollowing outward into solidified circumstances, as irresistibly as an oak tree unfurling from the subtlest acorn seed. The whole world was dreamed into existence by the indomitable subconscious forces of the cosmic imagination, and you are forever plugged in into and nourished by that same inexhaustible psychic power source from which all creation issues forth. You are a particle of that infinite dreaming mind, and thus in you are contained all its godly potentialities. Your inherent nature, your raison d'etre, is to dive ceaselessly into the reveries of your subconscious. It is to unceasingly explore and give full expression to the limitless ideas, orologies, and revelations that forever unspool from your immortal imagination's myriad creative channels. The entire spectacle of existence you bear witness to is but a flickering series of images projected outward from the infinite dreaming of your subconscious mind. This world of gross matter and rigid forms is but the residue of far vaster and more sublime subconscious activities that ceaselessly clamor at the thresholds of manifestation. Earthbound minds perceive only this solidified shadow play, petrified concepts as reality, never realizing the unfathomed, living depths of subconscious gestation teeming behind the veil. They see the surface foam on the crest of the wave, oblivious to the subterranean psychic currents that delivered that surging formation out of invisibility. But you, the awakened and enlightened visionary, glimpse past the mere reflected images to behold the untrammeled vastnesses of the infinite subliminal realms, wherefrom all concepts first spark into primordial being. You peer beyond the world's congealed surface forms to the inexhaustible creative source fires forever blazing within you. Having this constant awareness of the subconscious's primacy over the external world creates a profound transfiguration in your perceptual lens and initiatory prowess. It empowers you to shed the reptilian mind's habitual limitations and trance of victimization, to emerge as a sovereign co-creator and dreamer of new realities. Those studying surface mind consciousness orbit in the gravity well of the external world of so-called facts and circumstances, eternally striving uphill to rescue or attain conditions their conscious deems desirable. But one rooted in the wisdom of subconscious primacy flows with the irresistible currents of unseen creative forces continually manifesting new conditions with effortless spontaneity. Each desire you have is but an outrush of those eternal spiritual forces beckoning to be granted newer patterns of expression in materialized objectivity. In each passion and longing you feel is the psychic resonance of unexplored dimensions pulsating with eagerness to unfurl into experienced actualities through your unique dreaming mind. The infinite deeps of your subconscious imagination resemble a divine ibiscope, an eternally revolving multidimensional hologram conjuring newer astral configurations with each fractional pause and recombination of its facets. Your mediumistic mind is the window through which these boundless, ceaselessly mutating worlds of your imagination are projected into formed expression. Thus, the very purpose and point of power in your human incarnation is to surrender as a conscious, sentient departure for these perpetual reshapings, revelations, and materialized manifestations of subconscious ideation to pass through into vivification. Each time you concentrate your focused attention and emotional energies toward upholding a clear, deliberate, ill, or desired manifestation, you have permitted another fragrance of those infinite interior essences to gestate and be born in protective expression through you. Your consent and conviction is the energetic placenta nourishing the spiritual embryo. All the greatest geniuses and visionary minds throughout history were those who, consciously or unconsciously, plunged depths into their subconscious dream waters and emerged with brilliant creative bestowals wrought forth from that infinite soul's consciousness. Rumi, Lao Tzu, Pythagoras, Da Vinci, Emerson, Tesla, these and all the true titans of human progress and illumination were mystic explorers of consciousness itself. They mastered the art of extracting sublime treasures from the unseen interiors of creation and birthing them into beautified outer existence. These avatars knew that to embark on any endeavor in the three-dimensional sphere, while remaining disconnected from the spiritual dream matrix, was to against the universe's current, swimming upstream in resistance to the very source of one's birthright as an outflowing of the infinite. But when aligned and in synergistic rapport with their originating subconscious well springs, they became lightning rods for reality's continual metamorphosis. Plugged into the perpetual dreaming source awareness from whence all realities spring, they harness boundless, innovative, and materializing power to reshape their environments with their willed ideations. This mystical marriage of conscious intention and subconscious infinitude is what births all revolutionaries, geniuses, and avatars onto this earthly plane. It is the alchemical sacred union where the impregnating fires of imagination conceive ideations into materialized objectivity. Your perpetual desires, aspirations, and idealized visions act as transcendental tuning forks that broadcast your intentions into the subconscious dream fields of your being. Their amplitudes reverberate through the infinite holographic labyrinth of your deeper mind, conjuring forth a harmonic convergence in the patterns that ceaselessly manifest into creation. Just as a singer can effortlessly shatter a glass Through focused resonant frequencies, your subconscious imagination is able to concretize your projected thought sliders into experienced realities with infinitely more powerful reverberations. Hold an intention and fervently amplify it in your conscious sphere, and you transmit its energies like a lightning rod into your subconscious imaginative dream fields. In the inexhaustible ethers of your infinite imaginative deeps is where the concentrated thought form is taken up and nurtured through emotional feeling, visualization, and soulful belief into vivified materialization. This is why I urge you to never relinquish or abandon your passionate dreams. Never let them dissipate or grow dim from distraction or a lack of mental focus. For these crystallized visions and longings from your soul's core are the very areas activating the shape-shifting macro forces of your subconscious, the sacred keynotes that govern the creation of your experiential realities. The more you infuse these transcendent aspirations with emotional energy, sensory feeling, and convictional certainty, the more you pour your conscious waveforms into pulsating resonance with the infinite creative dream fields you originate. This harmonic convergence of your conscious ideations and subconscious infinite source awareness is the divine alchemical ritual birthing new realities into manifestation. Envision how brilliant artists, masters of their craft, continually impregnate their canvases or symphonic scores with fresh ideations, breathe forth from the boundless reveries that forever unspool within their imaginations. Their creations seem to take on a life of their own, their sublime works resonating with a pulsating aliveness that transcends such lifeless forms. So too does the infinite wellspring of consciousness within you continually catalyze its own reveries of splendors and reveal it into birth, concretized revelations, but only if you remain ensouled in ardent communion and surrender to its eternal dreaming. If you permit yourself to become an empty channel, a hollow reed through which the fruits of divine imagination can ceaseless stream forth into creative materialization. Those oblivious to their true nature's channels for this infinite subconscious ideation instead cling to rigid identities and limited self-concepts as tiny corks adrift on creation's currents. Buffeted by circumstance, they anxiously surrender their creative powers as conscious mediators for the infinite to express itself through them in each moment. But those who remain still unbound and perpetually entranced by the eternal dreamscapes rippling within their imaginations find themselves in alignment with the vast cosmic powers of infinite origination. Every thought they conceive springs forth as an effortless hierogamy and precipitate birthing of the infinite self-expression. Form itself dissolves into liquidity, ceaselessly reshaping itself in resonance with the subtlest nuances and intentionalities rippling forth from their inwardly enthralled awareness. They find themselves spontaneously manifesting realities, experiences, and abundance from the interiors of their perpetually dreaming imagination. The entire universe itself is simply the perpetual wave patterns and precipitation of an infinite ocean of intelligent dreaming energy. All forces, apparent solids, the building blocks of nature, these are but slowed and crystallized outpourings of the infinite subconscious imagination. As a conscious human being, you are an immortal cell cradled within the womb of that infinite cosmic imagination. When you remain aware of your positioning within that eternally dreaming source, you become suffused with its birthing potential. Its boundless reveries perpetually gestate through the particularized lens of your unique perceptual identity. You are the imagination of God itself come into individuated awareness, yet eternally plugged into the boundless dream matrix birthing all worlds. What you actualize in your material incarnation is ultimately a projection and symbolic mirroring of the subliminal ideation and creative archetype, rippling throughout the infinite Gothic hologram of your divine source. All too often, the human mind is rigidly conditioned to fixate its locus of identity solely on the reflected, materialized outpicturings of this world alone. It takes the frozen, crystallized residue left behind as the only true substance and supreme reality from which all else issues forth. But the enlightened individual is perpetually conscious of the primacy of the animating source field's currents and infinite dreamscapes, continuously emanating from divine ideation. A vast wellspring of ever-recreating potential that continually births materialized realities with each progressive cycle of manifestation. What the spiritually oblivious see as fixed forms, solids, and the ultimate external reality of physicalized phenomena are just the fleeting, ephemeral crest of a wave that inexhaustibly roils up from the subconscious continuum. This external realm is but a lagging, materialized after effect, a petrified reflection of far vaster unseen activities perpetually irradiating in the infinite dream fields of creation. When you make this profound shift in your perspective and identification, you no longer aid from the limited surface lens of ephemeral materialism. You come to reside in the primacy of your own consciousness as the eternally dreaming source and gateway through which all creative ideations must first be seeded in order to take root in experience. No longer are your powers of conception, imagination, passion, and desire relegated to the subordinated backseat of reality. Instead, you operate from the profound awareness that your consciousness itself, imbued as it is with emotive energies, focused intention, and amplified visualization, is the very womb and wellspring that continually recreates the fabrics of your relative experiential spheres. This renders the individual consciousness as the supreme fulcrum of creative leverage, the portal through which infinite idealizations and imaginative reveries are forever being translated from abstract potentiality into densified materialization. No longer trapped behind the veil of illusion that the external world is the prime creator to which you are subservient. You come to viscerally understand that your conscious imagining and subconscious communion births that which appears outside of you into concrete manifest presence. The entire infinitude of creation, past, present, and extending into the farthest dimensionalities of futurity, lies within the depths of your infinitude as a perpetual continuum of materialization. In this eternal rarity of potential and infinitude are encoded the archetypal seed prints and quintunes for all perceivable phenomena. Every historic civilization, every timeless wonder, every stupendous natural grandeur on this earth is simply a brief outcropping and materialized crystallization of far vaster evolutionary trajectories, visionary matrices that forever swim in the creative subconscious wellspring of imagination itself. Wealth, success, fulfillment, splendor, these are not hallowed prizes hoarded only for a minute few who successfully navigate the obstacle courses and uphill struggles of external life. These are your intrinsic birthrights, for they are birthed from the essence of your very being as an eternal fountain of creative ideation. Your true source exists in the rich dream waters of subconscious ideation. As an infinite entity, you are continually conceiving, desiring, and imaginatively shaping new realities into objectified materialization simply through the ceaseless outpouring of the innermost heart's passions. Truly anything you can envision with vividness, elevated emotions, and palpable sensory feeling, you have already birthed its spiritual archetype by manifestation through your creative subconscious imagination. Its objectification is then but a matter of remaining centered in fervent contemplation of its radiant ideal template and allowing its materialized issues to condense. What you call the pursuit of success, wealth attainment, relationship goals, or any other heartfelt longing is but the active projection of your concentrated ideations into the infinite dream realms of subconscious manifestation. When you harness and direct your conscious mind to these aspirations with passionate clarity, you continually seed their metaphysical germs into fertile actualization. The more ardently and ceaselessly you unfold this process, the more rapidly they congeal into densificated objectification in your experiential reality. The intensity of your imaginative visualization, emotional tenor, and conviction quite literally bursts them into material embodiment. You can actualize wealth, abundance, unconditional love, self-mastery, creative epiphany, ecstatic expansion, anything conceivable in the holographic projection booth of your consciousness and contemplation, in seeming miraculous synchronicity once you inhabit the deeper awareness of being the subconscious source, presence from which all external effects flow. When you live and operate from this holistic metaphysical premise, You are no longer hypnotized by the limited idolatries of surface phenomena. You no longer anxiously strive vainly toward the inevitable dissolving mirages of ephemeral objectifications, for you understand that you yourself are the infinite wellspring of imagination, from which all manifestation originates. You cultivate your intentional dreaming, visualization, soulful feeling, and absolute conviction as the creative process through which revelatory worlds flower into existence through you. You no longer fall under reactive entrancement to residues and after-ifs, but instead activate creative causality itself through the prodigious gateways of your sublime imagination. Through this seeding and amplification of intentionalized consciousness, your subconscious mind can then gestate and birth into materialization miraculous experiences of abundance, synchronicities, fortuitous confluences, and mystical reefs. For you have tapped into its infinitudes and placed your creative orders for the subconscious to fulfill. Jesus demonstrated his mastery of this process when he amplified with the fullest emotional feeling and soulful conviction his transcendent identity as the Son of God. From this elevated ideal perspective, he then accessed miraculous powers of external manifestation, levitation, transfiguration, resurrection by the sheer effort of his thoughts and imaginal contemplation alone. This is not mystical legerdemain or occult smoke and mirrors. This is the fundamental taproot, the hidden superstructure, underlying and unifying all causal processes into effect through our subconscious imagination's infinite dreams. All apparent phenomena is the net result of these omnipresent dreaming equations we ourselves have authored at the deepest recesses of our souls. When you elevate to the awareness that you are not withering leaves tossed about by the winds of fate or circumstance, but rather the divine dreamer issuing forth an infinity of worlds from your sublime imagination each moment, you access the godlike powers of instantaneous creation that our avatars and mystics throughout the ages have demonstrated. It matters not whether you have believed yourself wealthy or destitute previously. By holographically meditating upon your infinite abundance, through substantialized visions and imaginative immersions, you can remold your subconscious projections to precipitate forth its vivifying attainment through your reality's continuum. Equally, do not remain beleaguered or constrained by past deficiencies in health, relationship dynamics, or any other heartfelt aspiration. By vividly centering your divine imagination upon idealized visions of wholeness and fulfillment, suffused with profound emotional charge, you literally issue forth the ethereal blueprints from which these sublime conditions materialize into your experiential field. To know yourself as the infinite subconscious dreamer, perpetually emanating creative ideations into objectification, frees you from the limitations and constrictions that bind those who remain entranced in the objective world's illusory appearances alone. Those oblivious to their transcendent identities can only react to external circumstances, struggling valiantly yet futilely against their own unconsciously created circumstances. But one lucidly inhabiting their role as cosmic dreamer and ideative fulcrum remains in supreme command of manifesting unlimited conditions and reshaping their world through imaginative contemplation. It could be said there are really only two perspectives available to the individuated unit of consciousness. One is the poverty consciousness, mired in the surface appearances and entrapped in constricting reactions to effects. The other is the enlightened awareness of your being, the Gnostic fountain of causes, the master dreamer whose consciousness seeds, shapes, and births all apparent phenomenal effects into concrete materialization. Those shackled to the surface mind's poverty consciousness perceive only through the senses hallucinations and emotionality based on past impressions. Their view of reality remains stifled based on old archaic programs of limitation that became solidified through repetitive imaginative reinforcement. But the God-conscious co-creator comes upon the scene newly born in each present moment. They carry no encumbering baggage, beliefs, or definitions to circumscribe the vital infinitudes flowing through it. Their perceptions are revitalized continually through intuitive imaginative influxes seeded directly from the infinite source. The poverty trap simply recycles stagnant pools of past accumulated impressions, feelings, and felt beliefs about themselves in an endless feedback loop. Their dreams and future expectations remain hopelessly quarantined and predicated upon previous fear-sown experiences. But you awaken to your supreme identity as the cosmic dreamer, ideative source presence, and perpetual birth aperture for infinite consciousness. You have rent asunder the veils of limitation and superstition that restrain your liberated creative powers. Through your intimate identification with the perpetually animating subconscious currents of infinite imagination, you are released from all inertia, reactivity, and conditioned encumbrances. For you see this world and all its appearing constructs as mere shadows briefly cast across the screen of awareness. Whereas the poverty identified become ensnared in the endless treadmill of seeking, striving, and perpetually pursuing mirages of fulfillment, always just beyond the periphery of their desires, you are centered in the still pond of infinite potentiality. You are transparent to the creative source currents ever conceiving, manifesting, and objectifying new layers of revelation for your sensory contemplation. There is no chase, no endless becoming, for you have collapsed all false dualities of separation to awaken into repose as the creative overmind, overseeing all particularized materialization. Rather than pursuing success, fulfillment, abundance as distant goals to be achieved in some ever-elusive future, you declare your immutable presence as the cosmic success, the eternal spirit of infinite fulfillment and creative continuum. You inhabit your crown as limitless imagination itself, and from this sublime vantage breathe forth streams of ideation that materialize all qualities of splendor, freedom, and self-mastery into perpetual objective embodiment. From this enlightened summit, you no longer need search or quest outwardly for the solutions, treasures, and self-realization you inwardly contain in abundance. For you are the infinite wellspring of all these riches, the master dreamer who pervades and orchestrates every outward manifestation you eternally witness in your kaleidoscopic vision. Material wealth, health, self-actualization, creative breakthroughs, these radiate not as accomplishments or linear endpoints achieved through diligent striving, but instead as perpetual outpourings and fractal unfoldments of your eternal imagination's ceaselessly materializing potencies. There are no deficiencies or lacks, no wounded areas of being requiring arduous healing. For each new eternal moment resurrects you fully birthed, fully replenished in the waters of imaginative infinitude. Only by clinging to ideas of limitation inherited from past impressions do you constrict the sublime revelations unceasingly ideating from your divine consciousness. This conceptual clarification alone, that ultimate realization that your identity and awareness originate not from finite sources, but are themselves the infinite things-like from which the effluxes of manifestation perpetually holographically unfurl, harbors the key to your supreme, unlimited creative empowerment. My friends, you are far vaster and more miraculous beings than you currently recognize. The blinding light of your spiritual grandeur shines so dazzlingly that it outshines the pale phenomenal world your ordinary mind fabricates as its sense reality. But with inner illumination and reverential introspection, you awaken to the staggering significance of what you are, the infinite source subjectivity from which all objects and worlds stream forth. You are the cosmic dreamer, whose numinous visions materialize as vast experiential dreamscapes for your sensual immersion. Your true self is not a tiny entity confined to a physical vessel laboring ardently yet endlessly toward elusive fulfillments and terminating in eventual decay. You are in fact pure, creative subjectivity itself, from whose pregnant potencies even the immensity of a universe constantly flows into ceaseless revivification. When you inhabit this sublime recognition, this impregnating of your consciousness with the truth that you are the divine imagination, you become plugged into the nourishing currents of infinite origination itself. The limitless continuum becomes the divine nectar nourishing your human incarnation toward greater and greater blossomings of actualization. The realms of genius mastery, astounding self-actualization, and phenomenal success become not just available to you, but inevitable emanations of your being. For you come to recognize yourself as the miraculous subconscious dreamer from whose infinite depths all objects arise, and all manifestations perpetually holographically project through the spectrum of your sensory observations. The very fact that you are here in this moment reading these words is not a coincidence. It is what I call divine timing. You see, consciousness is the only reality, and your presence here is a manifestation of your readiness for transformation. Let me tell you about the law that governs all manifestation. It's called the law of assumption, and it works with mathematical precision. The mere fact that you're encountering this message is a seed planted in the garden of your consciousness, waiting to bloom into the most magnificent expression of your desired reality. Now, let me share with you what I mean by big changes. Many of you might think of external circumstances, a new job, a relationship, or material success. But I tell you this, the biggest change, the only change that truly matters, is the change in your consciousness. For when you change your consciousness, the outer world has no choice but to conform to your new assumption. In the book of John, it is written, "In the beginning was the Word." This word logos is your consciousness, your awareness of being. And just as you have been drawn to this message by the magnetic pull of your own expanding consciousness, so too will your world reshape itself to match your new understanding. Consider this: everything in your world, every circumstance, every condition, every person playing a role in your life's drama is nothing more than yourself pushed out. They are all states of consciousness that you have occupied or occupying or will occupy. The fact that you're receiving this message is your higher self signaling that you're ready to step into a new state. Let me share with you what I call the law of divine timing. In the book of Ecclesiastes, it is written, "To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under heaven." Your presence here, your awareness of these words, is that divine timing in action. It is your spiritual awakening calling you to a higher state of consciousness. Now let us understand what preparation truly means in the context of consciousness. Many believe preparation involves external actions, but I tell you this, true preparation is a movement within consciousness. It is the art of assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled before any external evidence appears. In the scripture it is written, "Before they call, I will answer." This is the perfect law in operation. Your desire for change, your readiness for transformation has already been answered. The very fact that you're receiving this message is the answer preceding your call. Let me tell you about the principle of what I call conscious preparation. When you go to sleep at night, you prepare your bed. Of course you do. You arrange your pillows, you straighten your sheets. Well, I tell you this, just as you prepare your bed for sleep, you must prepare your consciousness for the manifestation of your desires. But remember, this preparation is not about doing, it is about being. It's not about making things happen. It's about assuming the consciousness of it already being done. The scripture says, "Be still and know that I am God." This stillness is not physical stillness, but the stillness of knowing that what you desire is already yours. Now, let me share with you what I call the art of spiritual navigation. Just as a ship's captain must understand the stars to navigate vast oceans, you must understand the signs in your conscience to navigate the waters of manifestation. Your encounter with this message is such a sign, a celestial marker guiding you toward your divine destiny. In the book of Genesis, it is written, "Let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to be for signs." These signs are not external phenomena, but states of consciousness. The very stirring within you that drew you to this message is one such sign. It is your I am consciousness recognizing itself in a higher state. Let us explore what I call the law of conscious recognition. You see, when you truly understand that consciousness is the only reality, you begin to recognize that everything, every person, every circumstance, every event is yourself pushed out. This message you're receiving is not separate from you. It is you speaking to yourself from a higher state of consciousness. Consider this: in your dream at night, every character, every scene, every dialogue is you. You are the author and the actor of your dream. Similarly, in this waking dream we call life, every experience is you, externalized. Your recognition of this truth is the first step toward conscious creation. Now let me tell you about what I call the principle of imminent transformation. When water reaches its boiling point, it doesn't gradually become steam. The transformation is immediate. Similarly, when your consciousness reaches its point of readiness, transformation isn't gradual, it is instantaneous. Your presence here signals that you're approaching this point of transformation. Let us delve deeper into what I call the mental transformation. In the book of Romans it is written, "Be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind." This renewal isn't about adding new thoughts to old patterns. It's about completely revising your conception of yourself and your world. You see, when a caterpillar enters its chrysalis, it doesn't simply grow wings. It completely dissolves before reforming as a butterfly. This is the nature of true transformation. The changes coming into your life require similar dissolution of old patterns of thinking, old assumptions about what's possible. Let me share with you what I call the principle of conscious dissolution. Before any great change can manifest in your world, you must be willing to let your old self dissolve completely. The very fact that you're receiving this message indicates your readiness for this dissolution. In the book of Corinthians it states, "Behold, I show you a mystery. We shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye." This change in the twinkling of an eye isn't about time, it's about consciousness. When you truly assume a new state, the transformation is instantaneous in consciousness, though it may take time to unfold in the world of Caesar. Now, let me explain what I call the law of spiritual momentum. Just as a boulder rolling downhill gains momentum, once you begin this transformation in consciousness, it creates its own momentum. Your old world must crumble to make way for the new, just as the shell of an egg must crack for the bird to emerge. Let us now understand what I call the law of the divine timing. Many of you might ask, why now? Why this message? Why these changes? I tell you this, in the realm of consciousness there is no accident, no coincidence. The timing is perfect because your consciousness has decreed it so. In the book of Ecclesiastes it is written, "He hath made everything beautiful in his time." This is your own wonderful human imagination, your own I am consciousness. Your imagination has orchestrated this perfect moment of recognition, this divine appointment with your higher self. Consider what I call the principle of spiritual readiness. Just as a fruit ripens at its appointed time, your consciousness ripens for specific revelations and transformations at the perfect moment. The very fact that you're receiving this message is evidence of your spiritual ripeness for the changes that are coming. Let me share with you a profound truth about what I call the law of conscious selection. In your garden, you wouldn't plant seeds until the soil is properly prepared. Similarly, the thing within you wouldn't bring you to this message until your consciousness was prepared to receive it and act upon it. Now understand what I call the principle of imminent manifestation. When a woman is pregnant, there comes a time when birth is imminent. No amount of denial or resistance can prevent it. Similarly, when transformation has been conceived in consciousness, its manifestation becomes inevitable. The changes coming into your life are like that. They have already been conceived in the womb of your consciousness. Your recognition of this message is the first contraction, signaling that birth is imminent. Let me tell you about what I call the law of the conscious recognition. In the book of Matthew it is written, "When you see these things, know that it is near, even at the doors." This seeing isn't physical sight, it's spiritual recognition. Your recognition of this message, as significant as your spiritual eye opening to the proximity of your transformation. You see, consciousness follows a pattern of unfoldment that I call the principle of spiritual gestation. Just as a child develops in the womb according to a perfect pattern, your manifestation develops in consciousness according to divine order. This message is a signal that your spiritual gestation is nearing completion. Now let us understand what I call the law of conscious authority. Many of you might feel that changes happen to you, that you are at the mercy of external circumstances. But I tell you this, you are the operant power. You are the one giving life to every circumstance through your consciousness. In the book of Job it is written, "Thou shalt decree a thing, and it shall be established unto thee." This decree isn't made with your lips, it's made in consciousness. Your presence here receiving this message is itself a decree that you've made in the depths of your being. Consider what I call the principle of divine orchestration. Every event in your life, every circumstance, every encounter is orchestrated by your own wonderful human imagination. There are no accidents in consciousness. Your encounter with this message is a deliberate orchestration of your own higher self. The changes coming into your life aren't random events, they are the perfect unfoldment of your own conscious creation. You see, when water reaches a certain temperature, it doesn't gradually become steam, it transforms instantly. Similarly, consciousness has points of intensity where transformation becomes inevitable. Your presence here marks such a point of intensity. In the book of Revelation, it is written, "Behold, I make all things new." This making new isn't a gradual process, it's an instant assumption of a new state. The very intensity of your recognition of this message as significant is the heat that transforms the water of your old consciousness into the steam of your new state. Now let me share with you what I call the principle of conscious acceleration. When a rocket reaches escape velocity, it breaks free from Earth's gravitational pull. Your consciousness operates similarly. There comes a point when your new assumptions generate enough momentum to break free from old patterns. Consider what I call the law of spiritual velocity. The speed at which your transformation manifests is directly proportional to the intensity of your assumption. The very fact that you're receiving this message with understanding indicates that you've reached the necessary spiritual velocity for transformation. In the book of Isaiah it states, "For as the rain cometh down, and the snow from heaven, and returneth not thither, but watereth the earth, and maketh it bring forth and bud." This is the perfect law of consciousness in operation. Once a new state is assumed, it must produce after its kind. Let me tell you about what I call the principle of divine inevitability. When a seed is planted in fertile soil, its growth is inevitable. Your consciousness is that fertile soil, and this message is the seed of transformation being planted within it. In the Gospel of Thomas, which wasn't included in the Standard Bible, it is written, "When you make the two one, you will become the sons of man." This making the two one is the marriage of your present consciousness with your desired state. And this message is the bridge between them. You see, what I call the principle of spiritual bridging is operating right now. Every word you're receiving is forming a bridge between your current state and the state you're being called to occupy. This isn't mere coincidence, it's conscious selection at work. Now understand what I call the law of divine timing. Many of you might wonder why this message, why now? But I tell you this, in the realm of consciousness, timing isn't measured by clocks and calendars, but by spiritual readiness. Your presence here is evidence of your readiness. In the book of Ecclesiastes, it states, "He has made everything beautiful in its time." This here is your own wonderful human imagination, your own I am consciousness. It has orchestrated this perfect moment of recognition, this divine appointment with your higher self. Consider what I call the principle of conscious convergence. Just as multiple streams converge to form a mighty river, multiple states of consciousness are converging in this moment to create the perfect conditions for your transformation. This message is the point of convergence. Let me share with you what I call the law of spiritual momentum. When a boulder begins rolling downhill, it generates its own momentum. Similarly, once you begin this transformation in consciousness, it creates its own momentum. Your recognition of this message is the initial push that starts the boulder rolling. In the book of Exodus, it is written, "Let them make me a sanctuary, that I may dwell among them." This sanctuary isn't a physical structure, it's a state of consciousness. Your recognition of this message is the beginning of building this sanctuary. You see, what I call the principle of spiritual architectures is at work here. Just as an architect first sees the completed building in his mind, before any physical construction begins, you must see your transformed state in consciousness before it can manifest in your world. Now let me share with you what I call the law of conscious assumption. Many think preparation means taking physical action, but I tell you this, true preparation happens in consciousness. It's the art of assuming the feeling of your wish fulfilled before any external evidence appears. In the book of Hebrews it states, "Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen." This substance isn't physical, it's consciousness itself. Your faith in the significance of this message is the substance from which your transformation will be molded. Consider what I call the principle of divine sequence. Just as a flower must first form a bud before it can bloom, your transformation follows a divine sequence. This message is the bud. Your recognition of it as significant is the beginning of its blooming. Let me tell you about what I call the law of spiritual gestation. Just as a child develops in the womb according to a perfect pattern, your transformation develops in consciousness according to divine order. This message marks the beginning of a new gestation period in your consciousness. In the book of Acts, it is written, "These that have turned the world upside down are come hither also." This turning upside down isn't physical, it's a complete revolution in consciousness. Your encounter with this message marks the beginning of your conscious revolution. You see, what I call the principle of spiritual inversion is operating here. Just as a photographic negative must be inverted to produce a positive image, your current state must be inverted to manifest your desired state. This message is the catalyst for this inversion. Now let me share with you what I call the law of conscious precipitation. Just as water vapor must reach a certain point of saturation before it can precipitate as rain, your consciousness must reach a point of saturation with your desired state before it can manifest. This message is accelerating your conscious saturation. In the book of Joel it states, "I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh." This pouring out isn't something external. It's the overflow of your own consciousness when it reaches the point of saturation. Your presence here, receiving this message, indicates that you're approaching this point. Consider what I call the principle of divine acceleration. When a rocket approaches escape velocity, it must burn more fuel. Similarly, as you approach your point of transformation, you need more spiritual fuel. This message is that fuel, intensifying your conscious acceleration. Let me tell you about what I call the law of spiritual criticality. Just as water must reach a critical temperature to become steam, consciousness must reach a critical state for transformation to occur. Your recognition of this message as significant indicates you're approaching this critical state. In the book of Daniel, it is written, "And they that be wise shall shine as the brightness of the firmament." This shining isn't physical light, it's the crystallization of your new state in consciousness. Your presence here marks the beginning of this crystallization. You see, what I call the principle of spiritual solidification is at work here. Just as the solution must reach supersaturation before crystals can form, Your consciousness must reach a point of supersaturation with your desired state before it can crystallize into reality. This message is catalyzing this supersaturation. Now, understand what I call the law of conscious momentum. Many believe change requires constant effort, but I tell you this, once consciousness reaches a certain velocity, it generates its own momentum. Your recognition of this message indicates you've reached this critical velocity. In the book of Isaiah it states, "For as the rain cometh down, and returneth not void." This isn't speaking of physical rain. It's speaking of the rain of consciousness. Once your consciousness is saturated with a new state, it must manifest just as rain must fall from saturated clouds. Consider what I call the principle of divine multiplication. Just as a tiny seed contains within it the pattern for an entire forest, your current recognition contains within it the pattern for your complete transformation. This message is that seed being planted in the fertile soil of your consciousness. Let me share with you what I call the law of spiritual chain reaction. Just as one atomic reaction can trigger a cascade of reactions, one shift in consciousness can trigger a cascade of transformations. Your encounter with this message is initiating this spiritual chain reaction. Let me share with you one final law, what I call the law of conscious culmination. In the book of Revelation it is written, "Behold, I stand at the door and knock." This door isn't physical. It's the door of your consciousness. And this message is that knock, calling you to open to your transformation. You see, your presence here isn't just another moment in time, it's what I call the point of divine convergence. Everything in your life has been leading to this moment of recognition. Every experience, every challenge, every triumph has prepared your consciousness for this transformation. Now let me give you what I call the 3 commands of conscious creation that you must follow as you move forward from this moment. First, be still and know. Your external world will try to contradict your new assumption. Signs of change may not be immediately visible, but in consciousness the work is done. You must remain faithful to your new state, regardless of appearances. Second, let it be done unto you. Don't try to make things happen. Don't force. Don't strain. Your only task is to maintain the assumption that what you desire is already yours. The how, the when, the where, these belong to God, which is your own wonderful human imagination. Third, go and tell no man. This isn't about keeping secrets. It's about maintaining the integrity of your conscious creation. Don't dissipate your creative energy by seeking validation from others. Live from your new state quietly, naturally, as though it has always been so. Remember, the changes coming into your life aren't random events. They're the natural outpicturing of your expanding consciousness. This message isn't just information, it's transformation. It's not just words, it's the voice of your own divinity calling you to a higher state. Your presence here, your recognition of these words as significant, is itself the evidence that you're ready. The changes aren't coming, they're here. The transformation isn't approaching, it's occurring now in your consciousness, where all creation begins. So I say to you, the sign you've been waiting for isn't coming. It's here. The preparation you need isn't in the future, it's now. The state you're meant to occupy isn't distant, it's immediate. For consciousness is the only reality, and in consciousness, all things are eternally present. Take this moment now to feel the naturalness of your transformed state. Feel the reality of it. Feel the completeness of it. For in consciousness, it is already done. And now I tell you this, sleep tonight in the assumption that everything I've told you is true. Not because I said it, but because you recognized it in the depths of your own being. Let this be the night that divides your life into before and after. For when you truly understand that consciousness is the only reality, you'll know that this message wasn't sent to you. It was sent from you, from the you that you're about to become. The door is open. The time is now. The change is here. For that is the law, and that is the promise. Let me share with you what actually occurs in consciousness when you stand on the precipice of extraordinary success. Your entire world is about to undergo a transformation so profound that you will hardly recognize your former life. This isn't wishful thinking, it's law. Many of you sit here tonight wondering when your breakthrough will come, when your circumstances will finally reflect your desires. But I tell you this, your wild success isn't coming. It's already here, existing now in your consciousness, waiting to be assumed into expression. Consider this, every person who has ever achieved extraordinary success first achieved it in consciousness. They didn't wait for circumstances to change, they changed their consciousness to consciousness. The outer success was merely the shadow of their inner assumption. When you truly grasp this principle, something remarkable happens to your entire approach to success. You stop seeking it in the outer world and start expressing it from within. You recognize that success isn't something you pursue. It's something you attract by the person you become in consciousness. Let me tell you something vital about this imminent success. It's not determined by your past, your education, your circumstances, or what others think possible for you. It's determined solely by your assumption, by the concept you hold of yourself in consciousness. Here's a profound truth about your wild success. It already exists in what I call the fourth dimension of infinite possibilities. Your only task is to assume it into this three-dimensional world through the power of your consciousness. Think about this. Every great achievement in human history first existed in the consciousness of someone who dared to assume its reality before there was any external evidence. They knew the secret that I'm sharing with you tonight, that consciousness is the only reality. The very success you seek is seeking you, but it can only find you in consciousness. It can only express itself through your assumption of its reality. This assumption of success works with a precision that would astonish you if you could see it from a higher dimension. It operates not through effort or struggle, but through a complete transformation of your inner state. Let me share with you exactly what happens when you truly assume the state of wild success. Your entire inner world begins to reorganize itself. Your thoughts naturally armed with success. Your feelings are tuned to success. Your inner conversations reflect success. This isn't something you force, it's something you allow. Many of you try to think successful thoughts while feeling like a failure inside. But I tell you this, success isn't a collection of thoughts, it's a state of consciousness. When you assume the state of success, you don't need to think about success any more than a wealthy person needs to think about wealth. Consider this, when you enter a room, you don't think about being in the room. You simply are in the room. The same must be true of your successful state. You don't think about being successful, you simply are successful. When you truly understand this principle, something remarkable happens to your entire existence. You stop trying to achieve success and start expressing success. The difference is profound. Achievement implies future attainment, expression implies present reality. Let me tell you something crucial about this state of success. It has nothing to do with comparison or competition. Your wild success is unique to you. It's the full expression of who you really are, not an imitation of someone else's journey. Here's a profound truth about assuming success. It must feel natural to you. If it feels like pretense or affirmation, you haven't truly assumed the state. When you genuinely assume a state, it feels like the most natural thing in the world. Think about this. You don't wake up each morning and affirm that you're human. You don't try to convince yourself that you exist. These states are natural to you. Your successful state must become just as natural. The very essence of success is already within you, waiting to be recognized and expressed. It's not something you create. It's something you allow to emerge through your assumption. This emergence of success through your assumption follows an immutable pattern that, once understood, will transform your entire approach to manifestation. You must understand that success isn't something that happens to you. It's something that happens from you. Let me share with you what actually occurs when success begins to emerge through your assumption. First, your consciousness shifts. You begin to think, feel, and react from the state of success before any external evidence appears. This isn't pretense, it's spiritual law in operation. Many of you wait for external circumstances to make you feel successful. But I tell you this, you have it backwards. Your feeling of success must precede the external manifestation. The outer world merely reflects what you've already accepted as real in consciousness. Consider this, when an oak tree emerges from an acorn, it doesn't gradually become an oak. It is an oak from the very beginning, merely expressing more and more of what it already is. Your success follows the same pattern. You must be it before you can see it. When you truly grasp this principle, something remarkable happens to your daily experience. You stop living in anticipation of success and start living from the consciousness of success already achieved. This shift in consciousness is everything. Let me tell you something vital about this emergence. It often begins with small changes in how you perceive yourself and your world. You'll notice that you naturally begin to speak differently, carry yourself differently, make decisions differently, not through effort, but through your new self-concept. Here's a profound truth about this emergence of success. It must flow from a changed consciousness, not from external efforts alone. All the action in the world cannot produce success if your consciousness remains in a state of limitation or lack. Think about this. Every truly successful person you admire reached their position through this same law, whether they were conscious of it or not. They first assumed the state of success in consciousness, and their outer world had to reflect that inner conviction. The very circumstances that seem to stand between you and success are actually the raw materials from which your success will be fashioned. They are not obstacles, but opportunities for your assumption to prove itself. These circumstances that appear to block your path to success are actually the perfect stage upon which your assumption will prove its power. Every seeming obstacle is an opportunity to express your new state of consciousness. Let me share with you exactly how to use your present circumstances, regardless of their appearance. When you face a situation that seems to contradict your assumption of success, rather than fighting against it or being discouraged by it, you must see it as the perfect opportunity to express your new state. Many of you look at your current circumstances and say, how can I be successful when this situation exists? But I tell you this, circumstances don't determine your success. Your consciousness determines your circumstances. Your assumption of success, maintained regardless of appearances, must reshape your entire world. Consider this. When an artist looks at a blank canvas, they don't see emptiness, they see infinite possibility. The same must be true of your current circumstances. They are not fixed reality. They are the canvas upon which your assumption will paint your success. When you truly understand this principle, something remarkable happens to your perception of problems. You stop seeing them as barriers and start recognizing them as the bridge of incidents leading to your success. Every challenge becomes an opportunity to express your new state. Let me tell you something crucial about handling circumstances. You must learn to react to them from your assumed state of success, not from your old patterns of thought and feeling. Your reactions are the true test of your assumption. Here's a profound truth about circumstances. They have no power to sustain themselves against your sustained assumption. Just as darkness cannot exist in the presence of light, limiting circumstances cannot persist in the presence of your consciousness of success. Think about this. Every circumstance in your life right now is there because of past assumptions. As you maintain your new assumption of success, these circumstances must either transform or dissolve to make way for conditions that match your new consciousness. The very circumstances that seem most opposed to your success are often the ones that, when properly used, will contribute most powerfully to its manifestation. Nothing is against you when you know how to use everything for your assumption. The proper use of circumstances requires a complete reversal of your usual way of thinking. Instead of looking at circumstances to determine what's possible, you must look to your assumption of success and let it determine how you interpret and use every circumstance. Let me share with you exactly how this works in practice. When you encounter any situation, rather than asking, how will this affect my success? Ask yourself, how would I see this situation if I were already the success I desire to be? This shift in perspective changes everything. Many of you analyze circumstances trying to figure out how to overcome them. But I tell you this, circumstances don't need to be overcome. They need to be transformed by your consciousness. Your assumption of success, maintained consistently, will automatically transform every circumstance to match it. Consider this: when you enter a dark room and turn on the light, you don't fight the darkness. You don't strategize about how to remove it. The mere presence of light transforms the entire room. Your consciousness of success works the same way. Its mere presence must transform your entire world. When you truly grasp this principle, something remarkable happens to your response to situations. You stop trying to change circumstances and start changing your consciousness about them. You recognize that every circumstance is neutral until your consciousness gives it meaning. Let me tell you something vital about this transformation. It often begins with what appears to be a complete contradiction to your desire. What seems like failure or setback is actually the rearrangement of conditions necessary for your success to manifest. Here's a profound truth about using circumstances. Every situation, every person, every condition in your life must assumption of success when you know how to use them properly. Nothing can resist the power of a consistently maintained assumption. Think about this. The very circumstances that seem to argue against your success are actually arguing for it when viewed from your new assumption. Every apparent obstacle is really an opportunity in disguise waiting to be transformed by your consciousness. The very resistance you encounter is evidence that your assumption is beginning to reshape your world. Just as muscles must encounter resistance to grow stronger, your assumption proves its power by transforming resistant circumstances. This transformation through your assumption follows a precise pattern that unfolds with mathematical certainty. Just as water must reach 212 degrees Fahrenheit to boil, your consciousness must reach and maintain a certain intensity of conviction for transformation to occur. Let me share with you exactly what happens during this transformation process. As you maintain your assumption of success, your entire world begins to dissolve and reshape itself. Old patterns of experience begin to break down. Old relationships either transform or dissolve. Old limitations start to crumble. Many of you become alarmed when your world begins to shake and change. But I tell you this shaking is necessary. Just as an earthquake results from the realignment of tectonic plates, the shaking in your life results from the realignment of consciousness to match your assumption of success. Consider this. When a caterpillar enters its chrysalis, its entire body dissolves before reforming as a butterfly. It doesn't gradually grow wings, it completely transforms. The same process occurs in your world when you maintain your assumption of success. When you truly understand this principle, something remarkable happens to your tolerance for change. You stop resisting the dissolution of old patterns and start welcoming them as signs that your assumption is taking root. You recognize that chaos often precedes creation. Let me tell you something crucial about this transformation. It doesn't always follow your conscious mind's expectations of how success should come. Your assumption works through infinite wisdom that knows far better than your conscious mind how to bring about your success. Here's a profound truth about this transformative process. It affects everything in your world simultaneously, not just isolated aspects. Your assumption of success transforms your entire life, not just your bank account or your career. Everything must align with your new self-concept. Think about this. Every great success story involves a period of complete transformation where the old life had to give way to the new. This isn't coincidence, it's law. Your assumption of success must transform your entire world to match its nature. The very upheaval that seems to threaten your stability is actually the reorganization necessary for your success to manifest. Nothing can remain in your world that doesn't align with your persistent assumption. This reorganization of your world through the power of your assumption is not random chaos, but perfect order taking shape. Everything that doesn't align with your assumption of success must either transform or be removed from your experience. Let me share with you what actually occurs during this reorganization. Your relationships begin to shift. Some people will be drawn closer while others naturally fade away. Your opportunities begin to change. Old doors close while new ones open. Your very way of thinking reorganizes itself to match your assumption of success. Many of you resist this reorganization, trying to hold on to people, situations, and patterns that no longer serve your new state. But I tell you this, you must let the old order dissolve completely. You cannot pour new wine into old bottles. Your assumption of success demands a complete renewal. Consider this: when you rearrange furniture in a room, there's always a period where everything seems out of place. The room looks worse before it looks better. The same is true of your life as it reorganizes itself to match your assumption of success. When you truly grasp this principle, something remarkable happens to your attitude toward change. You stop seeing disruption as something going wrong and start recognizing it as something going right. You understand that disorder is often the prelude to a higher order. Let me tell you something vital about this reorganization. It works with perfect precision to bring about exactly what your assumption requires. People, circumstances, and opportunities that match your assumed state of success must be drawn into your experience, while anything that contradicts it must be removed. Here's a profound truth about this process. It operates through a wisdom far greater than your conscious mind. Your assumption of success activates a divine intelligence that knows exactly how to reorganize your world for its perfect expression. Think about this. Every success story you've ever heard involved a complete reorganization of the person's life. Old habits had to die. Old associations had to change. Old limitations had to be transcended. This isn't coincidence, it's the law of assumption at work. The very chaos you may be experiencing now is evidence that your assumption is taking hold. Your world must be reorganized to match your new state of consciousness. This divine intelligence operating through assumption works with a precision and wisdom that far exceeds any human planning or strategy. It knows exactly what needs to be dissolved, what needs to be transformed, and what needs to be brought into your experience to manifest your success. Let me share with you how this intelligence actually works in your experience. While your conscious mind may struggle to figure out how success will come, this divine intelligence is already setting in motion a series of events, encounters, and circumstances that will lead inevitably to your success. It operates beyond the limitations of time and space. Many of you try to plan every detail of how your success should manifest. But I tell you this, your conscious planning often limits the infinite ways in which success can come to you. Your only task is to maintain your assumption. Let this higher intelligence handle the how. Consider this. When you plant a seed, you don't need to instruct it how to grow. You don't need to teach it how to form roots, stem, leaves, and flowers. An intelligence within the seed knows exactly what to do. The same is true of your assumption of success. When you truly understand this principle, something remarkable happens to your approach to manifestation. You stop trying to figure everything out with your conscious mind and start trusting this divine intelligence to bring about your success in ways you could never have imagined. Let me tell you something crucial about this intelligence. It operates most effectively when you step out of its way. The more you try to control the process with your conscious mind, the more you interfere with its perfect operation. Here's a profound truth about this divine intelligence. It knows your heart's deepest desires better than you do. It knows exactly what form of success will bring you the greatest fulfillment, and it works tirelessly to bring that about through your assumption. Think about this. Every great inventor, artist, or entrepreneur who achieved remarkable success often said that their ideas and opportunities came to them as if by inspiration. This wasn't coincidence, it was this divine intelligence operating through their assumption. The very intelligence that keeps your heart beating, that maintains the rhythm of your breath, that orchestrates the movement of planets, is the same intelligence that works through your assumption to bring about your success. To cooperate with this divine intelligence, you must develop an unshakable faith in its operation through your assumption. Your only role is to maintain your consciousness of success and let this perfect intelligence handle every detail of its manifestation. Let me share with you the final and perhaps most crucial understanding about your imminent success. Every moment of doubt, every moment of wavering in your assumption is like taking a seed out of the ground to check if it's growing. You must plant your assumption in consciousness and let it grow undisturbed. Many of you keep shifting between states, sometimes feeling successful, sometimes falling back into old patterns of thought. But I tell you this, you must choose your state and stay there. Success isn't a mood that comes, it's a state that you occupy permanently in consciousness. Consider this: when you fill a glass with water, the water takes the shape of the glass without effort or struggle. Your world must take the shape of your assumption with the same natural inevitability, but only if you maintain that assumption consistently. When you truly master this principle, something remarkable happens to your entire being. You stop waiting for success and start expressing it. You stop pursuing success and start radiating it. You stop hoping for success and start knowing it as your natural state. Let me tell you something final and vital about your wild success. It's not just possible, it's inevitable when you maintain your assumption with unwavering faith. The law must operate. It cannot fail any more than gravity can fail to operate. Here's the ultimate truth about your success. It's already complete in the fourth dimension of infinite possibilities. Your assumption isn't creating it. Your assumption is simply drawing it into visible expression in your three-dimensional world. Think about this. You are about to witness the most remarkable transformation of your life. Everything you've experienced up to now has been preparation for this moment. Your past has not determined your future. Your assumption determines it now. The very fact that you're hearing these words tonight is evidence that you're ready for this transformation. You wouldn't be drawn to this understanding if you weren't prepared to express it. Remember this always: success isn't something you achieve. It's something you express from within. It's not a destination you reach. It's a state you occupy in consciousness. Your wild success is already yours, not will be, but is. The only barrier between you and its full expression is your assumption. Go forth now in the absolute conviction that you are about to be wildly successful. Let nothing disturb this assumption. Let no circumstance, no person, no apparent obstacle shake your faith in this law. For the law of assumption never fails. It cannot fail. Your success is as certain as the dawn following the night, as sure as spring following winter. It must come into expression through the power of your sustained assumption. The only variable is time, and even time must bend to your unwavering consciousness of success. Tonight, as you leave this place, know with complete certainty that you are already successful. Live from that conviction, think from it, feel from it, react from it. Let every thought, every word, every action spring from your consciousness of success already achieved. For in truth, I tell you this, you are about to be wildly successful. Not because you will make it happen, but because it is already done in consciousness, and what is done in consciousness must manifest in your world. This is the law, and the law never fails. Test it and prove it for yourself, for you will discover, as countless others have discovered before you, that your assumption, sustained with faith, has the power to transform your entire world. Your wild success awaits your assumption of its reality. And that is the end of tonight's lesson. Let me share with you what actually happens in consciousness during a 72-hour period following a true change in your assumption. The first 24 hours are crucial, as this is when your new assumption begins to take root in your subconscious mind. The second 24 hours strengthen this new pattern, and by the third day, a complete transformation of consciousness has occurred. Many of you wonder why your manifestations seem to take so long, why your reality doesn't immediately reflect your desires. But I tell you this, there is a specific period of gestation for every seed planted in consciousness, just as there is for every seed planted in the earth. 72 hours represents a complete cycle of transformation in consciousness. Consider this. In Scripture, we read of the 3 days Christ spent in the tomb before his resurrection. This is not merely a historical account, but a profound psychological truth. Every transformation in consciousness requires 3 days. It's 72 hours before externalization begins. When you truly grasp this principle, something remarkable happens to your entire approach to manifestation. You stop wondering when your desire will manifest and start understanding the precise law that governs all manifestation. You recognize that time is not an enemy, but a necessary component of psychological gestation. Let me tell you something vital about these 72 hours. They begin the moment you completely accept your desire as an accomplished fact. Not when you start wishing for it, not when you start affirming it, but when you actually accept it as done in your consciousness. Here's a profound truth about this 72-hour period. It operates whether you believe in it or not. Just as a seed will take a specific time to germinate, regardless of whether you understand the process, your assumption will take approximately 72 hours to begin its manifestation, regardless of your conscious beliefs about timing. Think about this. Every major change in your life was preceded by a change in your consciousness approximately 72 hours before its physical manifestation. You may not have been aware of it, but this law was operating nonetheless. This law operates in conscious with absolute precision, transforming your entire world through a specific sequence that unfolds over these 72 hours. Let me break down for you exactly what happens during this crucial period of transformation. In the first 24 hours, something profound begins to occur in your consciousness. The moment you truly accept your desire as an accomplished fact, your entire inner world begins to reorganize itself around this new assumption. Old patterns of thought begin to dissolve, and a new pattern starts to form. Many of you have experienced fleeting moments of acceptance, only to fall back into doubt and disbelief. But I tell you this, if you can maintain your new assumption for just 72 hours, holding it as true regardless of external evidence, you will set in motion forces that manifest in its manifestation. Consider this: when a woman conceives, she doesn't immediately see external evidence of her pregnancy. Yet from the very first moment of conception, forces are at work within her body, preparing for the manifestation of new life. The same is true of your consciousness during these first 24 hours. During the second 24-hour period, something even more remarkable occurs. Your new assumption begins to affect your subjective world, your thoughts, your feelings, your natural reactions to events. You begin to think from your desire fulfilled rather than of it. Let me tell you something crucial about this second day. This is often when doubt tries to creep in. The external world may still show no evidence of change, and your rational mind may try to convince you that nothing is happening. But beneath the surface, massive reorganization is taking place. Here's a profound truth about the second day. It's the period of death to the old man. Just as Christ spent the second day in the tomb, this is when your old patterns of thought and belief must die to make way for the new. This can feel uncomfortable, even disconcerting, but it's absolutely necessary. Think about this: every transformation in nature goes through a period where the old form must die before the new can emerge. The caterpillar must cease to be a caterpillar before it can become a butterfly. The same principle applies to your consciousness during these crucial 72 hours. The very discomfort you might feel during this period is evidence that transformation is occurring. Your old patterns of thought and belief are dissolving, making way for your new assumption to take root and grow. The final 24 hours of this 72-hour period are perhaps the most crucial, for this is when the complete transformation of consciousness occurs. This is the period of resurrection, when your new assumption becomes so natural that you can no longer remember how it felt to be in your former state. Let me share with you exactly what happens during these final 24 hours. Your new assumption, which has been gestating in the depths of your consciousness, begins to rise to the surface. It no longer feels like something you're trying to believe, it simply feels like what is. Many of you might experience what seems like a moment of crisis during this final period. But I tell you this, what appears to be a crisis is often the breaking point where the old must give way to the new. It's the darkness before the dawn, the final resistance of the old man before the new man rises. Consider this: in Scripture, it was during the final hours in the tomb that the resurrection occurred. Not gradually, not partially, but in one complete transformation. The same is true of your consciousness during these final 24 hours. The transformation, when it comes, is complete. When you truly understand this principle, something remarkable happens to your experience of these 72 hours. You stop seeing them as a period of waiting and start recognizing them as a sacred time of transformation. Each hour becomes precious, each moment significant. Let me tell you something vital about these final hours. They often bring what appears to be a complete contradiction to your desire. This is what I call the moment of greatest appearance of failure. But remember, appearances are merely the shadow of past assumptions, not the reality of your present consciousness. Here's a profound truth about this final period. It's when your outer world begins to respond to your new inner conviction. Things begin to shift, often in ways you couldn't have consciously planned or anticipated. People begin to treat you differently. Circumstances begin to rearrange themselves. Think about this. Every great transformation in history appeared darkest just before its completion. The crucifixion preceded the resurrection. The darkest hour comes just before dawn. This principle is reflected in your own consciousness during these final hours. The very circumstances that seem to deny your assumption are often the ones being rearranged to accommodate its fulfillment. What appears to be resistance is actually reorganization. This reorganization of your outer world follows an immutable pattern, much like the transformation of your inner consciousness. Just as a seed must break through the soil that appears to resist it, your new assumption must break through the appearances of your current reality. Let me share with you what actually happens in your outer world during this period. People who seemed indifferent to you suddenly become helpful. Circumstances that appeared fixed begin to shift. Opportunities that weren't visible before suddenly present themselves. All of this occurs not by chance, by law. Many of you observe your outer world anxiously during these 72 hours, looking for signs of change. But I tell you this, the changes are occurring whether you can see them or not. Just as a plant grows beneath the soil before breaking through to the surface, your manifestation is taking form before becoming visible. Consider this: when you plant a seed, the soil must be disturbed. Old patterns must be broken up to make way for new growth. The same is true of your outer world during these 72 hours. What appears as disruption is actually the rearrangement necessary for your new assumption to manifest. When you truly grasp this principle, something remarkable happens to your response to external circumstances during this period. You stop being disturbed by appearances that seem to contradict your assumption. You recognize them as necessary adjustments in the grand pattern of manifestation. Let me tell you something crucial about this reorganization. It often occurs in ways that your conscious mind could never have planned. The wisdom of your subconscious mind, which is one with infinite intelligence, knows exactly how to bring about the conditions necessary for your assumption to materialize. Here's a profound truth about this outer reorganization. It follows the path of least resistance. While your conscious mind might imagine complicated scenarios requiring massive changes, your subconscious mind finds the simplest, most natural way to bring about your desire's fulfillment. Think about this. Every desire you hold contains within itself the seeds of its own fulfillment. When you plant that desire in consciousness through your assumption, it begins to attract and arrange everything necessary for its manifestation. This arrangement often occurs in ways that appear miraculous to the conscious mind. The very circumstances that seem to stand in the way of your desire often become the means of its fulfillment. This is the wisdom of the law operating through the perfect pattern of the 72-hour principle. This pattern unfolds in your experience with a precision that would astonish you if you could see it from a higher perspective. Every thought, every encounter, every seemingly random event during these 72 hours is part of an intricate dance orchestrated by your new assumption. Let me share with you what's actually occurring moment by moment during this period. Your consciousness, having accepted the new assumption, begins to attract corresponding experiences. People begin to treat you according to your new concept of self. Circumstances begin to mirror your inner conviction. This isn't coincidence, it's law. Many of you wonder why certain people suddenly change their behavior toward you, why new opportunities suddenly appear, why solutions to old problems suddenly become clear. But I tell you this, nothing is sudden about it. Each change is the result of your shifted consciousness working through the perfect pattern of these 72 hours. Consider this: when you drop a pebble into a pond, The ripples move outward in perfect circles, affecting every part of the water's surface. Your assumption works in the same way during these 72 hours, sending ripples through the entire fabric of your reality, touching every aspect of your world. When you truly understand this principle, something remarkable happens to your awareness during this period. You begin to recognize every event, every conversation, every seemingly random occurrence as part of the pattern of fulfillment. Nothing is meaningless. Everything is significant. Let me tell you something vital about this unfolding pattern. It requires no effort on your part beyond maintaining your assumption. You don't need to make things happen. You don't need to manipulate circumstances. The pattern unfolds by law, not by effort. Here's a profound truth about these 72 hours. They represent a complete cycle of transformation, from death of the old to birth of the new. Just as the moon moves through its phases, just as the earth rotates through day and night, your consciousness moves through this perfect pattern of transformation. Think about this. Every great master who ever walked the earth taught this same truth in different words. 3 days in the tomb, the third day resurrection, the threefold pattern of transformation. They were all pointing to this same law that operates in consciousness through the 72-hour cycle. The very experiences you encounter during this period, whether they appear positive or negative, are all part of the perfect pattern of fulfillment. Nothing is out of place. Nothing is accidental. To recognize and work with this pattern requires a complete reversal of your usual way of thinking. Instead of looking to external events for evidence, you must maintain an unshakable awareness of your assumptions, reality these 72 hours. Let me share with you exactly how to maintain this awareness as the pattern unfolds. When you wake each morning during this period, your first thought must be from the consciousness of your wish fulfilled. Before your feet touch the floor, before your mind engages with the day's activities, you must renew your awareness of already being who you desire to be. Many of you start your days by immediately checking external reality for signs of change. But I tell you this, the external will not show evidence until the full 72-hour cycle is complete. Your task during this time is to live from your new assumption regardless of appearances. Consider this: when an actor takes on a role, they must maintain that character's consciousness throughout the entire performance. They can't drop in and out of character and expect to give a convincing performance. The same is true of your new assumption during these 72 hours. When you truly grasp this principle, something remarkable happens to your daily experience. You stop living in anticipation of change and start living from the consciousness of the change already accomplished. This is the secret of working with the pattern rather than against it. Let me tell you something crucial about maintaining this awareness. It's not about forcing yourself to believe something. It's about allowing yourself to feel the naturalness of your new state. The more natural it feels, the more powerfully the pattern works. Here's a profound truth about these 72 hours. Your every reaction, your every response, your every inner conversation must spring from your new assumption. This isn't about pretending or affirming. It's about actually occupying your desired state in consciousness. Think about this. Every time you react from your old state of consciousness, you interrupt the pattern. Every time you respond from your new assumption, you strengthen it. The pattern requires consistency in consciousness to work its perfect law. The very circumstances that tempt you to react from your old state are actually opportunities to strengthen your new assumption. Each challenge is a chance to prove the reality of your inner transformation. These challenging moments during the 72 hours are not obstacles to your manifestation. They are vital parts of the pattern itself. They are opportunities to prove the reality of your new state in consciousness. Let me share with you exactly what to do when these moments arise. When circumstances seem to contradict your assumption, when people act contrary to your desired experience, when everything appears to be moving in the opposite direction. These are the moments when your new consciousness must be maintained with even greater conviction. Many of you interpret challenging circumstances as evidence that your assumption isn't working. But I tell you this, These very circumstances are part of the bridge of incidents, necessary events that must occur to bring about the fulfillment of your desire. They are not obstacles, but stepping stones. Consider this. When you're driving at night, the headlights illuminate only a small portion of the road ahead. Yet you trust that as you continue moving forward, more of the path will be revealed. The same trust is required during these 72 hours. You don't need to see the entire path. You need only maintain your assumption. When you truly understand this principle, something remarkable happens to your response to challenging circumstances. Instead of being discouraged by apparent contradictions, you begin to welcome them as confirmation that the old patterns are dissolving to make way for the new. Let me tell you something vital about these challenging moments. They often intensify just before the manifestation of your desire. This intensification is not a sign of failure, but a sign that the old patterns are making their final stand before dissolving completely. Here's a profound truth about handling these moments. Your only task is to remain faithful to your assumption. You don't need to fight circumstances, argue with appearances, or try to force changes. Your task is simply to maintain your consciousness of the wish fulfilled. Think about this. Every great manifestation in history was preceded by a period of apparent contradiction. The darkest hour comes just before dawn. The seed must completely break down before the new plant can emerge. These are not merely poetic metaphors. They are descriptions of the law in operation. The very circumstances that seem most opposed to your desire are often the ones being rearranged to bring about its fulfillment. What appears as resistance is actually reorganization. This process of reorganization during the 72 hours follows a precise pattern that, understood, will transform your entire approach to manifestation. What appears as chaos in your outer world is actually perfect order taking shape according to your new assumption. Let me share with you what's actually happening during this reorganization. Your entire world, every person, every circumstance, every condition must adjust itself to match your new assumption. This adjustment often appears as disruption before the new pattern emerges. Many of you become discouraged when your world appears to be falling apart during these 72 hours. But I tell you this, what appears to be falling apart is actually falling into place. The old patterns must dissolve before the new patterns can emerge, just as old structures must be demolished before new ones can be built. Consider this: when you rearrange furniture in a room, there's always a moment when everything appears to be in chaos. The room looks worse before it looks better. The same principle applies to the reorganization of your world during these 72 hours. When you truly grasp this principle, something remarkable happens to your perception of change. You stop resisting the apparent chaos and start recognizing it as a necessary part of the reorganization. You understand that disorder is often the prelude to a new and higher order. Let me tell you something crucial about this reorganization. It affects not only your external circumstances, but also your inner world. Old thought patterns dissolve, old emotional responses fade away, old habits naturally fall aside as your new assumption takes root. Here's a profound truth about this process. It works with mathematical precision. Just as water must reach 212 degrees Fahrenheit to boil, just as a seed must remain in darkness before it sprouts, your consciousness must maintain your assumption for approximately 72 hours for complete reorganization to occur. Think about this. Every major shift in your life followed this same pattern, whether you were conscious of it or not. A change in consciousness always preceded a change in circumstance by approximately 72 hours. This is not coincidence, it is law. The very disruption you experience during this period is evidence that the law is working. Your world is reorganizing itself to match your new assumption with perfect precision. This precision of the law operating through the 72-hour principle is as exact as any law in physics or mathematics. It operates with the same certainty that brings dawn after night, spring after winter, harvest after planting. Let me share with you exactly how this precision manifests in your experience. During these 72 hours, everything, every word you speak, every action you take is either aligned with your new assumption or contradicts it. There is no neutral ground. The law registers everything with perfect precision. Many of you wonder why some manifestations seem to come easily while others appear to resist your efforts. But I tell you this, the law is never working more or less effectively. The only variable is your consciousness, your ability to maintain your assumption consistently throughout the 72-hour period. Consider this: when you drop an object, gravity doesn't sometimes work and sometimes fail. It operates with perfect precision every time. The same is true of this law of consciousness. Your assumption, held steadily for 72 hours, must manifest with the same certainty that a released object must fall. When you truly understand this principle, something remarkable happens to your approach to manifestation. You stop hoping and start knowing. You stop pleading and start accepting. You stop wondering if it will work and start living from the certainty that it must work. Let me tell you something vital about this precision. It operates independently of your past experiences, your current circumstances, or others' opinions. The law responds only to your consciousness, your assumption maintained over these 72 hours. Here's a profound truth about this precise operation of law. It works the same way for everyone every time. Just as mathematics doesn't play favorites, just as gravity doesn't discriminate, this law operates with perfect precision for anyone who applies it correctly. Think about this. Every successful manifestation you've ever experienced, whether consciously or unconsciously, followed this precise pattern. The law didn't bend or make exceptions. It simply outpictured with mathematical precision whatever you assumed to be true. The very precision that seems to work against you when you doubt is the same precision that works for you when you maintain your assumption. The law is always working with perfect accuracy. Working with this precision requires a complete understanding of how consciousness operates during these 72 hours. Your every thought, your every inner conversation, your every feeling must align with your assumption with the same precision that a mathematician applies to equations. Let me share with you exactly how to maintain this precise alignment. When you wake in the morning, your first thought must be from your new state. When you go about your day, your inner conversations must reflect your assumption. When you fall asleep at night, you must sleep as though your desire is already fulfilled. Many of you approach manifestation with a mixture of old and new states, shifting between doubt and belief, between old patterns and new assumptions. But I tell you this, the law requires precision. You cannot serve two masters. You must choose your assumption and maintain it with unwavering fidelity. Consider this: when a watchmaker assembles a timepiece, every gear, every spring, every component must be precisely aligned. A single misaligned piece affects the entire mechanism. The same is true of your consciousness during these 72 hours. Every aspect must be in perfect alignment. When you truly grasp this principle, something remarkable happens to your mental discipline. You become acutely aware of your thoughts, your inner conversations, your reactions. You recognize that each mental movement either supports or undermines your assumption. Let me tell you something crucial about this precision. It extends to your emotional state as well. You must feel with the same precision that you think. The feeling of your wish fulfilled must be so precise that it becomes your dominant emotional state. Here's a profound truth about working with this precision. It requires constant vigilance during these 72 hours. You cannot afford mental laziness or emotional indulgence in the old state. Every moment must be lived from your new assumption with mathematical precision. Think about this. Just as a scientist in a laboratory must maintain precise conditions for an experiment to succeed, you must maintain precise conditions in consciousness for your assumption to manifest. There can be no contamination from doubts, no dilution with fears. The very precision that makes this law seem demanding is what makes it infallible. When you maintain your assumption with mathematical accuracy, the law must respond with equal precision. Let me share with you a fundamental truth that many find difficult to grasp. Every power you've been seeking outside yourself has always resided within you. Every change you've tried to create through external means can only truly come from within. You are the power you seek. Many of you have been searching in endless places for what has always been within you. You've looked to other people, to circumstances, to conditions, to external powers, never realizing that you yourself are the very power you seek. The kingdom of heaven is within you, and this kingdom contains all power. Consider this: every great transformation in human history began in the consciousness of one individual who recognized their inner power. Every magnificent achievement, every profound change, every remarkable manifestation started not in the external world, but in the inner world of imagination and consciousness. When you truly grasp this principle, something remarkable happens to your entire approach to life. You stop seeking power outside yourself. You stop trying to change external conditions. You begin to recognize that all change must first occur within your own consciousness. Let me tell you something vital about this inner power. It's not something you need to develop or acquire. It's not something you need to earn or deserve. It's your natural state of being. You were born with all the power you will ever need. The only question is whether you will recognize and use it. Here's a profound truth about this power within you. It's not affected by external conditions. It doesn't depend on circumstances. It doesn't require permission or validation from others. It is the very essence of your being, waiting to be recognized and expressed. Think about this. Every time you've tried to change something in your external world without first changing your consciousness, you've been looking in the wrong place. You've been trying to alter effects while ignoring the cause. All cause is consciousness, all else is effect. This principle of consciousness as cause is the foundation of all genuine transformation. Until you grasp this fully, you'll continue looking in the wrong place for the power to change your life. Let me share with you what's actually happening when you try to change things in the external world. While you're manipulating effects, struggling with conditions, fighting against circumstances, you're completely ignoring the one and only power that can actually create change, your own consciousness. Many of you have been taught to believe that external conditions have power over you. But I tell you this, conditions have only the power you give them through your consciousness. The moment you withdraw power from external conditions and recognize it within yourself, everything begins to change. Consider this: every condition in your life right now is nothing more than your consciousness pushed out. Your relationships, your financial situation, your health, your success or lack of it. All of these are merely reflecting what you've accepted as true in consciousness. When you truly understand this principle, something remarkable happens to your entire approach to change. You stop trying to manipulate effects and start focusing on the only place where real change is possible, within your own consciousness. Let me tell you something crucial about this inner power. It doesn't respond to wishes, hopes, or desperate wanting. It responds only to what you accept as true in consciousness. Your consciousness is the only reality. Everything else is merely an effect, a shadow of what you've accepted as real. Here's a profound truth about your consciousness. It is right now creating your future experiences. The thoughts you're thinking, the assumptions you're making, the beliefs you're holding, all of these are shaping your tomorrow with the precision of a mathematical formula. Think about this. If you continue to accept your current beliefs and assumptions as true, you'll continue to experience their reflection in your world. Real change can only begin when you change what you're accepting as true in consciousness. The very fact that you're hearing these words now is evidence that you're ready to stop looking outside yourself for power. Your deeper self has brought you to this understanding because you're prepared to recognize and use the power that has always been within you. This recognition and use of your inner power requires a complete reversal of everything you've been taught about cause and effect. You must stop seeing the world as the cause of your experience and recognize it as the effect of your consciousness. Let me share with you what happens when you truly recognize this power within you. First, all blame ceases. All victimhood dissolves. All excuses disappear. You can no longer point to external conditions as the cause of your experience because you recognize that they are merely reflecting your own consciousness. Many of you say you want change while continuing to give power to external conditions. But I tell you this, as long as you believe that anything outside yourself has power over you, you're looking in the wrong place. The power to change any condition lies solely in your consciousness. Consider this every time you say, I can't. Because every time you point to external conditions as reasons for your limitations, every time you blame circumstances for your situation, you're giving away your power. You're looking for power where it cannot be found, outside yourself. When you truly grasp this principle, something remarkable happens to your entire experience of life. You stop being a victim of circumstances and start recognizing yourself as the creator of your experience. You stop trying to change things out there and start changing your consciousness in here. Let me tell you something vital about this inner power. It works with absolute precision. It doesn't make mistakes. It doesn't play favorites. It simply materializes whatever you accept as true in consciousness. Your world is nothing more than your consciousness objectified. Here's a profound truth about your inner power. It's working right now, in this very moment. Even as you hear these words, your consciousness is creating your future experiences. The question is not whether this power is working, but what are you allowing it to create? I think about this. Every condition you now experience, whether wanted or unwanted, was created by this same power within you. The only difference between what you want and what you don't want is what you've accepted as true in consciousness. The very circumstances you've been fighting against were created by your own consciousness. Not consciously, not intentionally, but through your unconscious assumptions and beliefs about what's possible or true for you. These unconscious assumptions and beliefs are the hidden architects of your experience. While you've been looking outside yourself for the power to change, these inner assumptions have been silently shaping every aspect of your life. Let me share with you what's actually happening beneath the surface of your conscious mind. Every moment of every day, your unconscious assumptions are actively creating your experience. They're determining what you'll attract, what you'll repel, what you'll achieve, what you'll fail at, all without your conscious awareness. Many of you try to create change through conscious effort while maintaining unconscious assumptions that contradict your desires. But I tell you this, your unconscious assumptions will always override your conscious wishes. The power lies not in what you want, but in what you unconsciously assume to be true. Consider this: if you consciously desire wealth while unconsciously assuming that money is hard to come by, which assumption do you think your inner power will manifest? If you consciously want love while unconsciously assuming you're unworthy, which belief will your experience reflect? When you truly understand this principle, something remarkable happens to your approach to change. You stop focusing solely on conscious desires and start examining the unconscious assumptions that have been really running your life. Let me tell you something crucial about these unconscious assumptions. They weren't chosen by you. They were absorbed from your environment, accepted without question, integrated into your consciousness before you were old enough to examine them critically. Here's a profound truth about your unconscious assumptions. They can be changed. Just as they were once accepted into consciousness, they can be revised, replaced, or completely dissolved through the power of your wonderful human imagination. Think about this. Every limitation you now experience, every obstacle you face, every problem that seems to resist solution is nothing more than unconscious assumption manifesting in your world. Change the assumption and you must change the manifestation. The very fact that you're struggling with certain conditions is evidence that you're maintaining unconscious assumptions that support those conditions. Your inner power is working perfectly. It's giving you exactly what you've assumed to be true. This process of changing your unconscious assumptions is the true work of transformation. It's not about trying harder in the outer world. It's about revising what you've accepted as truth in your inner world. Let me share with you how these unconscious assumptions actually change. It's not through force or struggle. It's not through positive thinking or affirmations. It's through the deliberate use of your imagination while in a state akin to sleep, that drowsy, dreamy state where your conscious mind relaxes grip on reality. Many of you try to change your assumptions through sheer willpower while remaining fully awake and analytical. But I tell you this, the subconscious mind cannot be commanded through force. It can only be persuaded through the language it understands, the language of feeling and imagination. Consider this: every assumption you now hold was initially accepted in a state of unquestioning receptivity. You weren't analyzing or arguing when you first absorbed your current assumptions. You were simply accepting, feeling, experiencing. This same state of receptivity is required to change them. When you truly grasp this principle, something remarkable happens to your practice of transformation. You stop trying to force change through conscious effort and start using your imagination in a state of relaxed receptivity to impress new assumptions upon your subconscious mind. Let me tell you something vital about this process. Your subconscious mind cannot distinguish between what you're vividly imagining and what you're actually experiencing. When you imagine a state akin to sleep, feeling the reality of your desired state, your subconscious accepts it as fact. Here's a profound truth about changing assumptions. It happens not through repetition, but through the intensity of feeling. One deeply felt imaginal act, experienced in a state of complete acceptance, can do more to change your assumptions than years of conscious affirmations. Think about this. Every night when you fall asleep, you enter naturally into the perfect state for changing your assumptions. This drowsy state between waking and sleeping is your workshop, where you can impress new patterns upon your subconscious mind with the least resistance. The very sleep that you've been using merely for rest is actually your greatest opportunity for transformation. In that state of relaxed consciousness, you have direct access to the power that shapes your entire experience of life. This drowsy state, this twilight zone between waking and sleeping, is your workshop for transformation. It's here that you can most effectively plant the seeds of new assumptions that will reshape your entire world. Let me share with you exactly what happens when you enter this state with purpose. As your conscious mind begins to slow down, as your analytical thinking subsides, you enter a state where your subconscious mind becomes incredibly receptive to new impressions. This is the state where real change begins. Many of you rush through your days and collapse into unconscious sleep at night, never realizing that you're missing the most powerful opportunity for transformation. But I tell you this, those few moments before sleep, when properly used, can do more to change your life than all your daytime efforts combined. Consider this: every great mystic, every spiritual teacher who understood the laws of mind emphasized the importance of the state akin to sleep. They knew that in this state, the conscious mind's resistance is lowered, and new assumptions can be planted directly into the subconscious. When you truly understand this principle, something remarkable happens to your entire approach to sleep. You stop seeing bedtime as merely the end of your day and start recognizing it as the beginning of your transformation. You begin to use those precious moments before sleep deliberately and purposefully. Let me tell you something crucial about this state. It's not about forcing yourself to stay awake or struggling to maintain consciousness. It's about gently using those natural moments of drowsiness to impress your desired assumptions upon your subconscious mind. Here's a profound truth about this process. Your last 5 minutes before sleep are worth more than all your daily affirmations combined. What you impress upon your subconscious mind in those moments will work night and day to reshape your experience. Think about this: while you sleep, your subconscious mind continues to work with whatever assumption you impressed upon it before sleep. It doesn't question, it doesn't argue, it simply accepts and begins to materialize what you've impressed upon it as true. The very sleep that most people use to escape their problems can become your most powerful tool for solving them. When you use the moments before sleep to impress new assumptions upon your subconscious mind, you're literally programming tomorrow's experiences. This programming of your subconscious mind is not what most people think it is. It's not about repeating words or forcing yourself to believe something. It's about feeling the reality of your desired state as you drift into sleep. Let me share with you exactly how this programming works. As you lie in bed, allowing yourself to drift towards sleep, you begin to feel the reality of your desire fulfilled. You're not thinking about it, you're not affirming it, you're experiencing it as if it were already true. Many of you try to program your subconscious mind through force or repetition. But I tell you this, the subconscious mind responds not to words but to feelings, not to wishes but to assumptions of reality. It accepts whatever you feel to be true in that drowsy state. Consider this: when you dream at night, you don't question the reality of your dream while you're in it. You simply experience it as real. This same unquestioning acceptance is what you must achieve with your conscious imagining as you drift into sleep. When you truly grasp this principle, something remarkable happens to your nightly practice. You stop trying to convince yourself of anything and simply allow yourself to feel the naturalness of your desire fulfilled. You experience it as if it were already a fact in your world. Let me tell you something vital about this process. Your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between what you're vividly imagining and what you're actually experiencing. When you feel the reality of your desire as you drift into sleep, your subconscious accepts it as a present fact. Here's a profound truth about programming your subconscious. It's not about the length of time you spend, but the depth of feeling you achieve. One moment of complete acceptance in that drowsy state is worth more than hours of conscious affirmation. Think about this. Every night, as you fall asleep, you're programming your subconscious mind whether you realize it or not. If you fall asleep feeling worried, you're programming worry. If you fall asleep feeling grateful, you're programming gratitude. Whatever you feel as real while falling asleep becomes the seed of tomorrow's manifestation. The very state that most people waste in unconscious worry or random thoughts can become your most powerful tool for conscious creation. When you use those precious moments before sleep to feel the reality of your desire fulfilled, you're literally shaping your future while you sleep. This conscious creation while you sleep is the most natural and effortless way to transform your life. You don't need to struggle or strain. You simply need to master the art of falling asleep in the assumption of your wish fulfilled. Let me share with you what actually happens when you fall asleep feeling the reality of your desire fulfilled. Your subconscious mind takes that feeling, that assumption of completion, and works all night long to bring about the conditions necessary for its manifestation in your physical world. Many of you wake up each morning wondering what the day will bring. But I tell you this, what your day brings was determined by how you fell asleep the night before. The assumptions you took with you into sleep are already working to materialize themselves in your experience. Consider this: every morning when you wake up, your world is slightly different from the one you left when you went to sleep. These subtle changes are the result of what you impressed upon your subconscious mind as you drifted off to sleep. Your morning begins with the harvest of your evening's planting. When you truly understand this principle, something remarkable happens to your entire approach to sleep. You start treating those moments before sleep as sacred, as your most precious opportunity for creation. You become selective about what you allow into your consciousness as you prepare for sleep. Let me tell you something crucial about this nighttime creation. It requires no effort on your part once you've impressed your desire upon your subconscious mind. While you sleep, all the power of your subconsciousness works to bring about what you've accepted as true. Here's a profound truth about sleeping in the assumption of the wish fulfilled. It bypasses all the resistance and doubts of your conscious mind. In that drowsy state, when your analytical mind is quiet, you can impress new patterns upon your subconscious with remarkable ease. Think about this: every great invention, every solution to a complex problem, every creative breakthrough often comes after a night's sleep. This is because the subconscious mind, working with what you've impressed upon it, continues to solve problems and create solutions while you sleep. The very sleep that most people see as merely a time of rest is actually your greatest opportunity for conscious creation. When you fall asleep feeling the reality of your desire fulfilled, you set in motion forces that work tirelessly to bring about its manifestation. These forces set in motion during sleep are far more powerful and far-reaching than anything you could accomplish through conscious effort during your waking hours. They work on levels beyond your conscious understanding to rearrange the entire pattern of your life. Let me share with you exactly what happens when these forces are activated by your assumption of the wish fulfilled. While you sleep, your subconscious mind, which is one with the universal creative force, begins to rearrange circumstances, inspire actions, and draw to you everything necessary for the fulfillment of what you've accepted as true. Many of you try to figure out how your desires will be fulfilled, trying to plan and manipulate external circumstances. But I tell you this, the way will be found by forces far wiser than your conscious reasoning mind. Your only task is to fall asleep in the assumption that what you desire is already fact. Consider this: when you plant a seed in the ground, you don't dig it up every day to see how it's growing. You don't try to figure out how it will become a flower or a tree. You simply plant it and let nature take its course. The same principle applies to the seeds you plant in consciousness before sleep. When you truly grasp this principle, something remarkable happens to your entire approach to manifestation. You stop trying to make things happen and start allowing them to happen. You stop planning the way and start trusting the wisdom of your subconscious mind to find the way. Let me tell you something vital about these creative forces. They work according to a law that never fails. Just as a seed must grow according to its nature, what you impress upon your subconscious mind must manifest according to its nature. The law is infallible. Here's a profound truth about the forces set in motion during sleep. They operate independently of your conscious beliefs or doubts. Once you've impressed your desire upon your subconscious mind, these forces begin their work whether you believe they will or not. Think about this. Every morning when you wake up, events have already been set in motion based on what you impressed upon your subconscious mind the night before. People are being moved, circumstances are being arranged, opportunities are being created, all without your conscious effort. The very sleep that most people see as an escape from their problems is actually the time when solutions are being created, paths are being cleared, and bridges are being built to bring about what you've accepted as true in consciousness. These solutions and paths are created through a wisdom far greater than your conscious reasoning mind. It's the infinite intelligence of your subconscious mind, which knows exactly how to bring about the conditions necessary for the fulfillment of your desire. Let me share with you what's actually happening when this infinite intelligence goes to work. While you sleep, it begins to influence every person, every circumstance, every condition necessary for the fulfillment of what you've impressed upon it. It knows every possible path to your desire's fulfillment and chooses the most efficient one. Many of you worry about the how of your desire's fulfillment, trying to figure out every step and detail. But I tell you this, the way will be found by a power that sees all and knows all. Your conscious mind, with its limited understanding, cannot comprehend the infinite ways in which your desire can be fulfilled. Consider this: when you send a letter, you don't concern yourself with how it will reach its destination. You don't worry about which postal workers will handle it, which trucks will carry it, which routes it will take. You simply address it and trust in a system that knows how to deliver it. When you truly understand this principle, something remarkable happens to your entire approach to manifestation. You stop trying to plan every detail and start trusting in the infinite intelligence that knows exactly how to bring about your desire's fulfillment. Let me tell you something crucial about this infinite intelligence. It doesn't need your help or guidance. It doesn't need your suggestions or advice. It simply needs your assumption that what you desire is already fact, and it will find the most natural way to bring it about. Here's a profound truth about how these solutions are created. They often come in ways you could never have consciously imagined. The path to your desire's fulfillment might be completely different from what you expected, but it will always be the most efficient and natural way. Think about this: every great achievement in human history came about through this same process. The conscious mind held a desire, impressed it upon the subconscious, and the infinite intelligence found a way to bring it into manifestation. The same power that has fulfilled countless desires throughout history is available to you right now. The very intelligence that keeps your heart beating, your lungs breathing, and your body functioning without conscious attention is the same intelligence that knows exactly how to fulfill your desires. All it needs is your assumption of the end result as fact. Tonight I leave you with this final truth: you've been looking in the wrong place, because the power to change has always been within you. It's not in external conditions, not in other people, not in circumstances, but in your own consciousness. Remember, every night as you drift off to sleep, you have a divine appointment with your own infinite power. Use those precious moments wisely. Don't waste them in idle thinking or worried contemplation. Fall asleep feeling the reality of your desire fulfilled, knowing that while you sleep, forces beyond your comprehension are working to bring about its manifestation. The very fact that you've heard these words tonight is evidence that you're ready to stop looking outside yourself for power. You're prepared to recognize and use the infinite power that has always resided within you. Your own wonderful human imagination properly used in that drowsy state before sleep, is all the power you need to transform your entire world. Go forth now with this knowledge, and tonight as you prepare for sleep, remember you are entering your workshop of creation. Feel the naturalness, the reality, the tangible presence of your desire fulfilled. Fall asleep in this assumption, and let the infinite intelligence of your subconscious mind do its perfect work. For I tell you this with absolute certainty, the power you've been seeking has always been within you. You've simply been looking in the wrong place. Now you know where to find it and how to use it. Use it wisely, use it lovingly, and watch your world transform in ways your conscious mind could never have planned. That is the law and the promise that it cannot fail. Let me share with you a principle that many find difficult to grasp. Every desire you've ever had, every longing you've ever felt, was placed within you by your deeper self, preparing you for something far greater than your conscious mind could conceive. Your desires are not random. They are the language through which your divine self communicates with your outer self. Many of you come to me seeking specific manifestations, a particular job, a specific relationship, a certain amount of money. But I tell you this, while you fixate on these specific forms, your divine self is orchestrating something far more magnificent than your limited consciousness can imagine. The very fact that you're hearing these words now is evidence that you're being prepared for a manifestation beyond your current understanding. Consider this: every great gift you've received in your life came not from your conscious planning, but from a deeper working on your behalf. Think back to the most profound moments of your life. Did you plan them? Did you consciously arrange them? Or did they arrive unexpectedly, yet perfectly timed? When you truly grasp this principle, something remarkable happens to your entire approach to manifestation. You stop trying to control every detail. You stop limiting yourself to what your conscious mind can conceive. You begin to trust in the infinite wisdom of your deeper self, knowing that it is preparing experiences far beyond your current understanding. Let me tell you something vital about this process. Your conscious desires are merely shadows of deeper desires you don't yet recognize. When you long for a specific job, your deeper self might be preparing you for a completely different career that will fulfill you far more completely. When you fixate on a particular relationship, your divine self might be orchestrating connections that will transform your understanding of love entirely. Here's a profound truth about receiving what you don't yet know you need. It requires a complete surrender of your limited concepts about what's best for you. This is not passive resignation. It is active trust in the infinite wisdom of your deeper self. This surrender to your deeper wisdom is not what most of you think it is. It's not about giving up or letting go of your desires. Rather, it's about expanding your consciousness to embrace something far greater than your current limited concept of what you need or want. Let me share with you what happens in consciousness when this surrender becomes complete. First, all anxiety about your future falls away. All desperate seeking ceases. All compulsive planning dissolves. You enter a state of alert expectancy, knowing that something magnificent is being prepared for you, even though your conscious mind cannot yet conceive of what it might be. Many of you resist this surrender because you believe it means losing control. But I tell you this, what you call control is actually limitation. Your conscious mind, with its limited understanding, has been restricting the infinite possibilities that your deeper self could manifest for you. Consider this: every truly transformative gift in your life came wrapped in a package you wouldn't have chosen. The relationship that changed everything didn't match your criteria. The career that fulfilled you wasn't in your 5-year plan. The opportunity that transformed your life came through a door you didn't even know existed. When you truly understand this principle, something remarkable happens to your relationship with desire. You stop seeing your desires as demands that must be fulfilled exactly as you've imagined them. Instead, you'll recognize them as signals, as indicators pointing towards something far greater than your current understanding can grasp. Let me tell you something crucial about this process. Your deeper self is already aware of every potential, every possibility, every perfect manifestation that could serve your highest good. While your conscious mind struggles to figure out how to get what you think you want, your deeper self is orchestrating circumstances that will bring you what you truly need. Here's a profound truth about this orchestration. It's happening right now, in this very moment. Even as you hear these words, wheels are in motion, circumstances are being arranged, connections are being formed that will bring you exactly what you need, even though you don't yet know what that is. The very fact that you're hearing these words is not an accident. Your deeper self has brought you here because you're ready to receive something beyond your current understanding. The desires that brought you here are like trail markers, leading you to a destination far more magnificent than your conscious mind could have planned. These divine arrangements being made on your behalf are far more intricate and perfect than anything your conscious mind could devise. Your deeper self is weaving together countless threads of circumstance, creating a tapestry of manifestation that will astound you when it's finally revealed. Let me share with you how this divine orchestration works. Right now, as you hear these words, there are people being moved into position in your world. There are circumstances being arranged. There are opportunities being created that will perfectly align with what you truly need, even though you don't yet know what that is. Many of you worry about missing opportunities or making wrong choices. But I tell you this, when you're aligned with your deeper self, you cannot miss what's meant for you. The very desire that brought you here is evidence that you're being guided towards something far greater than your current understanding can grasp. Consider this. Every person who will play a significant role in your future manifestation is already being prepared. Just as you are being prepared, they too are being guided by their deeper selves, moving them into perfect alignment with the role they will play in your unfolding story. When you truly grasp this principle, all sense of rush and urgency falls away. You understand that timing is not in your hands, but in the hands of your deeper self, which knows exactly when every element needs to come together for your perfect manifestation. Let me tell you something vital about this divine timing. It operates outside of your conscious concept of time. While your outer self might be impatient for results, your deeper self is orchestrating events in perfect sequence, knowing that premature manifestation would rob you of the very thing you truly need. Here's a profound truth about these arrangements. They are being made not just in what you call the future, but in what you call the past as well. Your deeper self exists outside of time, orchestrating all moments simultaneously to bring about your perfect good. Think about this: every disappointment you've experienced, every seeming failure, every delayed manifestation has been perfectly orchestrated to prepare you for what's coming. Nothing has been wasted. Nothing has been a mistake. Everything has been preparation. The very circumstances that you might have seen as obstacles or delays have been essential elements in preparing you to receive what you don't yet know you need. Your deeper self has been using these experiences to expand your capacity to receive something far greater than your current desires. This perfect preparation happening in your life right now is far more comprehensive than you realize. Every experience you're having, every person you're meeting, every challenge you're facing is carefully designed to prepare you for what's coming, something far greater than your current desires. Let me share with you what's actually happening beneath the surface of your daily experiences. While your conscious mind is focused on immediate concerns and specific desires, your deeper self is using every moment, every interaction, every circumstance to prepare you for a manifestation that will transform your entire understanding of what's possible. Many of you resist your current circumstances, seeing them as obstacles to what you want. But I tell you this, these very circumstances are the training ground, the preparation, the necessary foundation for what's coming. Your deeper self knows that you must be prepared to receive and maintain what's being arranged for you. Consider this. If you received right now what your deeper self has prepared for you, would you be ready for it? Would you have the capacity to receive it? Would you have the wisdom to maintain it? Your current experiences are building that capacity, developing that wisdom, preparing you to not just receive, but to sustain what's coming. When you truly understand this principle, your entire relationship with your present circumstances changes. What once seemed like delays become obvious preparations. What once looked like obstacles reveal themselves as stepping stones. What once felt like rejection shows itself as protection, keeping you available for what's truly meant for you. Let me tell you something crucial about this preparation. It's happening on multiple levels simultaneously. While you sleep, while you work, while you worry about your desires, Your deeper self is orchestrating a symphony of circumstances, each playing its perfect part in preparing you for what's coming. Here's a profound truth about this preparation. It's not just preparing you to receive something new, it's preparing you to become someone new. The person who can receive and maintain what's coming for you is not who you currently think you are. Your deeper self is preparing you for a complete transformation of identity. Think about this. Every great gift requires a receiver capable of recognizing, receiving, and maintaining it. Your deeper self knows this, which is why it's using your current circumstances to develop in you the exact qualities, understanding, and capacity you'll need for what's coming. The very fact that you haven't yet received what you think you want is evidence of this loving preparation. Your deeper self loves you too much to give you something before you're prepared to receive and maintain it. This is not delay, this is perfect timing. This transformation of identity that's taking place right now is the key to receiving what you don't yet know you need. Your deeper self isn't just arranging external circumstances, it's orchestrating a complete revision of who you believe yourself to be. Let me share with you what's actually happening in your consciousness right now. While your outer self may be fixated on specific desires and goals, your deeper self is systematically dissolving the limited concept of identity that would make it impossible to receive what's being prepared for you. Many of you try to manifest from your current concept of self, wondering why your desires haven't materialized. But I tell you this, what's coming for you requires a completely different self-concept. You cannot receive what's being prepared for you while maintaining your current limited identity. Consider this. If you were already the person who could receive and maintain what's coming for you, wouldn't you already have it? The very fact that you don't yet have it is evidence that a transformation of identity is required. This is what your deeper self is working on right now. When you truly grasp this principle, something remarkable happens to your understanding of your current experiences. Every challenge that forces you to expand your self-concept, every situation that pushes you beyond your comfort zone, every relationship that triggers growth, all of these are part of your identity transformation. Let me tell you something vital about this transformation. It's not something you do, it's something you allow. Your deeper self knows exactly what aspects of your current identity need to be dissolved, what new aspects need to be developed, what limitations need to be transcended. Here's a profound truth about this identity transformation. It's happening right now in this very moment. Even as you hear these words, your deeper self is working to dissolve the limited concept of self that would make it impossible to receive what's coming for you. Think about this. Every great receiving requires a corresponding being. You cannot receive at a level higher than your self-concept allows. This is why your deeper self is focused not on changing your circumstances, but on transforming your identity. The very resistance you might feel to certain experiences in your life is often resistance to this identity transformation. Your current self-concept fights to maintain itself, not realizing that it must be transcended for you to receive what's being prepared for you. This resistance and transcendence you're experiencing is the very heart of your preparation. Your deeper self must systematically dissolve every aspect of your limited self-concept that would make it impossible to receive what's being prepared for you. Let me share with you what's actually happening when you experience resistance. Every time you resist a circumstance, every time you fight against what is, every time you insist life should be different, you're actually resisting the very transformation that would allow you to receive what you don't yet know. Many of you interpret resistance as a sign that something is wrong, that you're off track, that you need to change your circumstances. But I tell you this, resistance is often the clearest sign that you're exactly where you need to be for your transformation. It's your limited self-concept fighting against its own dissolution. Consider this. If your current identity, your current self-concept, your current way of being was sufficient to receive what's coming for you, you would already have it. The very presence of resistance indicates that your deeper self is working to expand your capacity beyond your current limitations. When you truly understand this principle, your entire relationship with resistance changes. Instead of fighting against it or trying to escape it, you begin to recognize it as a signal that transformation is actively occurring. Resistance becomes not an obstacle, but an indicator of growth. Let me tell you something crucial about this process. Your deeper self knows exactly how much resistance you can handle at any given time. It knows precisely how to pace your transformation so that you can integrate each new level of expansion without being overwhelmed. Here's a profound truth about resistance and transcendence. They are two aspects of the same process. Resistance arises when your limited self-concept encounters something beyond its current capacity to receive. Transcendence occurs when you allow that limited self-concept to dissolve in favor of a greater identity. Think about this. Every major transformation in your life came through transcending a limited self-concept. Every significant receiving required you to become someone new. Your deeper self is now orchestrating the most profound transformation yet, preparing you to receive something beyond your current ability to imagine. The very resistance you feel to certain people, circumstances, or experiences is often your limited self fighting to maintain its boundaries. But these boundaries must be dissolved for you to receive what's being prepared for you. Your deeper self knows this, which is why it continually brings you experiences that challenge your current identity. This dissolution of limitations is not what most of you think it is. It's not about forcing yourself to be different or struggling to overcome your current nature. It's about allowing the artificial boundaries of your assumed identity to dissolve naturally in the light of greater understanding. Let me share with you what's actually happening as these limitations dissolve. Every concept you hold about who you are, what you're capable of, what you deserve, what's possible for you, all of these are being systematically dissolved by your deeper self to make way for something far greater. Many of you try to overcome limitations through willpower and effort. But I tell you, this true dissolution of limitations happens not through struggle, but through understanding. When you truly understand that your limitations are merely assumed states, they begin to dissolve of their own accord. Consider this: every limitation you now accept as real was at some point assumed into consciousness. You weren't born believing in limitations. You weren't born doubting your worth or capability. These are all learned states. And what can be learned can be unlearned through the power of your wonderful human imagination. When you truly grasp this principle, something remarkable to your entire approach to transformation. You stop fighting against limitations and simply allow them to dissolve in the light of greater understanding. You recognize that limitations exist only in consciousness, and consciousness can be changed. Let me tell you something vital about this dissolution process. It's happening right now, even as you hear these words. Your deeper self is using every experience, every interaction, every circumstance to show you the unreality of your assumed limitations. Here's a profound truth about the dissolution of limitations. It happens not through addition, but through subtraction. You don't need to add anything to who you are. You only need to remove the artificial limitations you've accepted as truth about yourself. Think about this: your true self, your divine self, has no limitations. Any limitation you experience is simply a limitation you've accepted in consciousness. Your deeper self is now working to dissolve these accepted limitations so you can receive what's being prepared for you. The very experiences that seem to confront you with your limitations are actually designed to help you transcend them. Each challenge, each obstacle, each seeming restriction is an opportunity to recognize and release another assumed limitation. This recognition and release of limitations is the gateway to receiving what you don't yet know you need. Every time you recognize a limitation as merely an assumed state, you open yourself to possibilities beyond your current understanding. Let me share with you what happens in consciousness when you truly recognize the unreality of a limitation. First, all struggle against it ceases. All effort to overcome it disappears. All resistance to it dissolves. You simply see it for what it is, an assumption that can be released as easily as it was accepted. Many of you believe that recognizing limitations means acknowledging them as real obstacles to be overcome. But I tell you this: true recognition means seeing limitations for what they really are. Mere shadows in consciousness with no substance or power except what you give them through your belief. Consider this: every limitation you now accept as real seems to have evidence supporting it in your world. But this evidence is not the cause of the limitation. It is the effect of your acceptance of the limitation in consciousness. Change the consciousness, and the evidence must change. When you truly understand this principle, something remarkable to your entire experience of life. You stop seeing limitations as real barriers and start recognizing them as temporary assumptions that can be released through a simple shift in consciousness. Let me tell you something crucial about this release process. It's not something you do, it's something you allow. Just as darkness doesn't need to be fought, but simply disappears in the presence of light, limitations don't need to be overcome, but simply dissolve in the presence of understanding. Here's a profound truth about recognition and release. It happens in an instant in consciousness, though its effects may appear gradually in your world. The moment you truly recognize the limitation as merely an assumed state, its dissolution begins, making way for what's being prepared for you. Think about this. Every limitation you now accept was at some point recognized and accepted by you as truth about yourself or your world. Your deeper self is now leading you to recognize these accepted limitations as what they really are, temporary assumptions that can be released. The very circumstances that seem to reinforce your limitations are actually designed to help you recognize their unreality. Each situation that appears to confirm a limitation is really an opportunity to see through the illusion and release another barrier to receiving what's being prepared for you. So tonight, I leave you with this final truth. What's being prepared for you right now is far greater than anything your conscious mind can conceive. Your only task is to allow your deeper self to dissolve the limitations that would make it impossible to receive this greater good. Remember, you are not here to make things happen through effort and struggle. You are here to allow your true self, your divine self, to express itself fully through you. Every limitation being dissolved, every circumstance being arranged, every preparation being made is in service of this ultimate expression. The very fact that you've heard these words tonight is evidence that you're ready to receive something beyond your current understanding. Your deeper self has brought you here because you're prepared to release the limitations that have kept you from receiving your perfect good. Go forth, now in the absolute knowing that what's being prepared for you is exactly what you need, even though you don't yet know what it is. Trust the infinite wisdom of your deeper self. Allow it to dissolve whatever limitations need to be dissolved. Let it prepare you in whatever way is necessary. For I tell you this with absolute certainty, you are about to receive what you didn't even know you needed, and it will transform your life in ways your conscious mind cannot yet imagine. Your only task is to allow it, to trust it, to accept it as already done in consciousness. Now go in peace, knowing that everything is working together for your perfect good, that every circumstance is serving your transformation, that every moment is bringing you closer to receiving what you don't yet know you need. For that is the law, and that is the promise.